But you had Tina on for a minute.
Yeah, she just went on.
Beautiful. And by the way, we didn't get a chance to get you on the schedule for this show. I've got one in September. I'd like to have you come up. You have a lot of information that was really unique to Colorado, but goes to the rest of the country. You willing to come on and show it?
Sure.
Part of this.
Sure.
Beautiful.
So now you actually can see Juan,
Well,
not the boots. He's got some beautiful boots on. Although I wore these boots just to compete against you on boots. So I don't see those.
oh, I love it.
You know what those are?
That looks like a croc.
Nope.
What is it?
That's pararaku. It's fish.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah, it's
The inside of the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, now that I think about it, I've seen that before. I was in Colombia, so
Yeah.
kind of a fun thing. But
So popular deal. I mean, it seems like it went well.
well, we're still got quite a bit to go here yet. Still, I've got South Korean delegation here.
Yeah, I had a
Former
conversation with
president.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
President of South Korea. People have no clue how important South Korea's election situation, and of course the just most recent president going to prison for life over this, and then stuff in Brazil, South America, other countries. What we just had moments ago within the presentation is that the evidence we have related to Dominion, Smartmatic, Sequoia, all that, China was running out of thing, which I've said all the way along. But we now have the documentation that's going before grand juries right now. The president knows this. Believe me, it's coming like a freight train.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I said that it would be a nice present if they had Coomer arrested at the trial on July 20th. And I think that might be a possibility that happens either before that or during it, just based on information that I've gotten. You talk about the CCP being involved in the election fraud specific to Dominion voting system.
Yeah.
Right. But if we go back and we trace it all the way back, Smartmatic, they're under indictment right now. They were used in the LA runoff election or the primary for mayor of Los Angeles.
Well, hold on. So Smartmatic is used. It's California, or I shouldn't say California, but LA County's voting system, which they claim to have created their own vote counting system, machine software. It's a total lie. It's Smartmatic, and totally transparent. That's how you get a Marxist like
Karen Bass,
as mayor there in LA, who went to all the Castro meetings. And by the way, think about this: Karen Bass goes and listens to Castro in Cuba numerous times, worships him, he's a god, okay? Loves his brother Raul. Who was running Venezuela? Really? It was Cuba. Cuba was running Venezuela. And so all of the leadership, when we went in and picked up Maduro, all of the protectors, the military and
commandos from Cuba,
were from Cuba
and Honduras,
and they were remote controlling Venezuela. Venezuela is a country about the size of Alaska. It's a huge country. People have no concept.
Yeah.
And China was using like a branch office.
Well, 18% of the known oil reserves across the world are in Venezuela.
Yeah. We don't need the Venezuelan oil. We have so much oil here in America. If we just get the politicians out of the way, let's go get our own oil. We're, as far as clean, that's all the roots. We can take the oil very, very cleanly, better than any place. Literally, we just need the bullshit out of the way. For example, up in Alaska, a postage stamp on a football field. That's how big the area is that they wanted to get the oil in their stop the pipeline. And politicians stopped them so they could make sure that the money went to places like Venezuela, where it then went to the cartels and went to China. So when you think the fact that they wanted to shut down one of the greatest technological marvels on the planet, the Alaska pipeline, they have to pump oil back and forth up the pipeline just to keep it from corroding. Not pumping oil to get it out to the refinery, just pumping oil back and forth to keep it from corroding, because They got to keep something in there running at 15% of capacity or less. There's no reason, there's no logic behind that. There's plenty of oil right there. So American workers, American technology take care of. Then, as far as the election machines, on what planet, on what basis do we have to get companies out of Canada, companies out of Venezuela, with software programs and servers out of China to handle our elections? We don't have American technology and people to be able to do it right here with American built equipment, same as we build our military infrastructure, military grade election systems. And in the meantime, until we get back to that, because we can't go to it right away, hand count, paper ballot, counted where it cast. No multi-day voting, one day, get it over with.
Well, we did this up until 2012. 2012. Up until 2012, we for the most part across the country counted our own ballots, right? And yeah, you had voter fraud and you had harvesting of ballots. You had all the normalized ways that you could cheat. But that leads me down to the radical elements. These are not the elections in our country were not stolen per se, in my opinion, not stolen by China per se. They were funded by China. But these were actors inside of our own country. You had John Polo.
Let me say it this way. Huh? We're not in disagreement, but let me say it this way. Right. You had collusion with people inside our country, inside our border, inside the election system here. No question about it, because they were going to benefit locally from whatever happened so they could get their people in power. But China has a active war, and this is an important element, attacked America to get control of America in a covert manner through the elections and put people that were favorable to them. And not just China. Remember, China is a branch office for the banks out of London, the city of London. Not just one bank, but that little conclave. They're the ones that control China and all the trade. China, its leadership, its military. You think of Basel, Switzerland. Well, that's just where they settle the accounts. You have other projects that are going on, but at the end of the day, it's that small conclave of banks. In fact, people get confused on this. The British royalty, for example, Queen Elizabeth was alive.
Yeah,
He'd have to go to the gate of the city of London. The old Roman wall was there, where the Romans had an area that they occupied about 5 She would have to go to the gate of the city of London, and then she had to take her shoes off, walk through the gate, curtsy and bow to the mayor of the city of London, kiss the ring, kiss the ass, whatever you want to say, every year, once a year. Why is that? Because she had to show obeisance to the true power behind the throne, including the other royal families. So if she's having to kiss the ass of the mayor of London, who's in charge? And those banks in the city of London is different than London proper that you're thinking, most people would think of. It's this conclave of banks that are there that leverage power across the world. Because of course, if you can't get your banking transactions, things like that, they own you. China's being run by the city of London. Inside there, it's a globalist operation. And those globalists are using China as part of their tool into these various countries, Serbia, Venezuela, Cuba, Honduras, all of those locations, including now Brazil, South Korea. Oh my gosh. That's why
that just happened in South Korea. So
well,
same thing. You have it's endemic of what's happening across the world.
They put the president of South Korea in prison for opposing the election fraud. The same thing they did in Brazil with Jair Bolsonaro, which of course we had the film here. Did you get to see the film?
I did not yet. I got in yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
I want to see that next.
September, we're going to replay it.
All right.
Okay, it's not open to the public, but I'm going to do a private screening right back here in Vegas at the same location here at the 8th, September 10th through the 13th. And we'll have some different subject matter, different speakers. I don't know if it's possible.
Well, I'm headed to Washington on Sunday.
Are you going to be in Washington on the 27th? You know, I have a private dinner in Washington on the 27th. You're invited. Okay, very private. Get to Matt. So let's get you in there and look at it. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right.
No, I think President Trump is, he probably knows more than I think he does. There's so many different theories that are out there. And during 2021, 22, 23, 24, going all over the country, the systems are all the same. And as I start looking at the systems in Australia and New Zealand,
I
Germany.
got to tell you a funny story. Okay, hold on. I apologize. So Jen and I are in Thailand. I'm getting ready to leave. I've said for a bit I need to go over to New Zealand. I need to go to Australia.
Yeah.
A couple things. So I'm literally 20 minutes from getting in the van to go to the airport. I'm going down to grab a couple munchies to put them in a baggie so I can have some food instead of airplane food. There at the hotel there at the airport. And as I am climbing into the elevator, I had said something. There was a gal trying to get away. Said something, and a moment or two of silence, and this guy says, "Oh, that voice seems so familiar. Do I know you?" Turns out it was one of the politicians out of Australia that is out of office now, but he's a very politician in Australia. And he says, "Yeah, I've been following you. I know who you are." So we go off. He has his friend from New Zealand with him, and we ended up having a very fast 15-minute breakfast. But the problems in Australia, it's in this vote fraud zone. We know that
The software was built in Serbia.
but the fraud, as far as how the elections are actually managed, they have the same vote frauds in Australia as we have, and in New Zealand and other places. So
Yeah, so what was interesting about that is that, I don't know, 6 weeks or so ago, somebody sent me the manuals for Providence.
running the whole way servers there in Serbia.
The same.
Yeah.
The EMS system is all, the architecture is all the same.
Yeah. In fact, that's what we had some of the speakers talking about today. Underlying architecture, even what Ed Solomon was talking about. The systems are different brand names. They have supposedly different software, but when you look at the algorithm, it's the same basic way that. So
Yeah, I mean, the entire system in all 50 states is fraudulent.
Yep.
They can pick and choose at any time. They can pick a mayor's race. They can pick
every
race, and they don't have to pick and they don't have to steal them all, because you can't boil a frog if you just.
Well, they don't have to, because they've already put the vote in other ways with, remember the testimony about Boomer, that they believed internally that they could switch 15 million votes just by the way that they tune their search engines. When you go on to a search engine and look for information, that they can flip 15 million votes just by the way they do the search engine. Well, if you have 150 million votes, that's 10% of the presidential election. That's the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's no yeah, but I mean, I think we have to become laser focused. In my opinion, we have to become laser focused on, and we already have all the evidence, right? Would you agree? We have all the evidence. But when President Trump sat down with Kristen at Meet the Press, welcome, she said, "Well, you haven't been able to show us, and you haven't shown us the
evidence." Oh my God! Okay, hold on, stop. Moments ago, one of the people that deals with the president directly, Martin Rodriguez, huge in this whole thing, which we've had to like. So he had one of the key intelligence agency operatives that is actually doing the rest of the work for the president. Totally classified. Can't even tell Martin who's doing some of the prosecutions. He said, I know you can't tell me anything. He just said this on the stage moments ago.
Yeah, I met Martin in 2021.
Yeah, he's very close to him. He said, I know you can't tell me any details. You can't reveal anything to break a confidence. But he was asking one of the people that is briefing the president this stuff. And he said, can you just tell me, are we on the right track? Is what you're seeing right now in your investigations from the military intelligence side, lining up with what we're presenting. And how close are we? And this person talks to the president every day, said, well, everything you have is great. It's on cash. You only have 5% of what we have. In other words, the stuff that's going to the president behind the scenes. What we hearing right now in the public, and even what's going before the grand juries right now, within a Justice Department side of the prosecutions, 5%. So from the military side of the investigation, radically information. We have most of the detail. And that is coming. There's a tsunami of information coming over the next many months. And those people who think that maybe it's going to take years for most of the critical sectors now, we're in the window now. Tsunami's coming. I put this, we're like in a Cat 2 storm condition, category 2. And it's blowing up right now, moving to 3. Before it's over, within the release of information later this year, we'll be in a Cat 6. It's going to be that dramatic. And everybody just needs to realize that even from, your audience is pretty conservative. Most people
Well, it's about 40% Democrats, 60% Republicans.
but
They all
even
feel
there-
that they've been cheated across the
Look,
board.
am I right? Let me ask you a question. Even though you have a lot of Democrats, they're the Democrats that are, I would say, pretty honest in that
Tentative.
they don't exactly. They don't see things exactly the same, but they're not un-American.
Right.
They're not Marxists. They're not communists. Look, I got to tell you. Let's flip the questions. There is so many Republicans. I'm a Republican. I'm Reagan Republican. So, but I can't even. Don't put me in the same room because they're
Right.
just they're
Semi-retarded.
un-American. It's beyond retarded. They're sold out somehow. They're just in it for.
John Thune,
There you go.
Mitch McConnell,
There you
Lindsey Graham. I know you can walk down the line.
Yeah.
Lauren Boebert, people that are captured.
go. So the reason I even kind of push on that a little bit, it's not even right this second to save the country. It's not even a party issue. We're moving into a phase. We were attacked. We were attacked by China specifically with, the high table, above the table, whatever people out of the city of London, the banking people. They tried to take over our country. They succeeded to a certain point. They didn't fully succeed because, as I've told audiences all along, even back in the 21 election, Trump never ceded control completely. He kept nuclear command. Almost nobody understood that time. And now he's coming back. He's making statements like, I was 45, 46, and 47. I don't want to take credit for it. When they raided Mar-a-Lago, they were looking for the biscuit, which is the nuclear code. If I had never got that, he never had nuclear ability. And so we're learning these things now. I was saying it all along, but I'm learning that now publicly, and it's consistent. And the reason is because this is not about a policing action. Trump's taking the hat off his policeman hat over Justice Department, the administrative side of our country, because we were attacked externally. And in order to save the country and save the vote and everything else, it's going to take more than an action in the Justice Department, more than a policing action, is my opinion. And that's what the speaker today. In fact, Peter Tickton right across the room here.
Yeah, he's my attorney.
He said the same thing. He said the same thing yesterday when we were up on stage. He says, the only way we save this is you cannot get the authorities.
You can't persecute or prosecute enough people either. So you can't get hundreds of thousands of people through it. I believe it's hundreds, at least 100,000 people.
Well, remember, and this is something forgotten right now, but I'll remind your audience. In the federal court system, we have indictments that have been handed down. They have to be recorded. They're on file. Even if they're secure, they're secret indictments. They go on the record as a seal indictment. So we have right now like 750,000 sealed indictments that are still active, ready to be served right this second. Every single one of those sealed indictments Now, some of them could be the same person on multiple indictments, different federal locations. But every one of those indictments could have up to 99 people on it. So it's not 750,000. So we'll see from those couple of people that are on those things. Some of it's related to coming into the US, you're not a citizen and voting. Some of it's related to other things within the money province. And by the way, you know who you need to get on the show? Get Rick Saga on the show. Have you had Rick Saga on yet?
No, who's that?
Oh, yes. The healthcare fraud here in Nevada. They tried to set him up. You know, I'll tell you something. Your audience isn't aware of it. The largest art theft in American history occurred right here in Nevada, and it was stolen from him. He had all this Chinese vases and art, $500 million in art that he was going to send out on a tour. You know why they went after him? Because he's conservative about Trump. Las Vegas Metro PD never even made any kind of referral to the feds in the proper way. It's a huge deal. If it was $500 million, it's huge. But they also tried to set him up, have personal knowledge of all the details that been involved. They tried to set him up and said that he was involved in this healthcare fraud. All he did was he owned office buildings and rented it out to doctors. And then some of the doctors were involved in building stuff, the healthcare stuff. They didn't arrest the doctors, they arrested him, put him in jail like he had done something wrong. Well, you need to get him on stage or on the show.
Yeah, I would love to. Give me the
Rick's
information.
here.
But he's the one in Texas.
He's right here.
Oh, he's in Nevada.
He's right here in Nevada.
Okay.
He's running for office here in Nevada.
And Tim also, you know, Tim is a Barton from Texas. SEC and DOJ came in and took $400 million from him. I was talking to him yesterday just about how rotted the system is. I mean,
I got. There's stuff that I can't make public yet. I got a guy. I don't even want to say where he was at, but actively FBI, CIA, DEA all stole from him about $5 billion. And even threw him in prison for a period of time when he was complaining. Went out, a couple guys came to the house, pulled meat out of the freezer at his house. That's a very wealthy man.
yeah.
And took the meat, stabbed it, threw it in the swimming pool. With his wife standing there, says, "That's what it looks like. It's when you stab somebody and throw their body in the pool." So as the pool got there, and these were active people in paper, federal agents. And that was to facilitate moving money to Iran, amongst other things.
Well, what about, I mean, speaking of that, the president shows that there's a fund set up of $300 billion. Billion with a B. For restructuring and restabilizing Iran. You know, President Trump's only in office for another 2 years, can't run for another term. Who comes after him, number one? And two, what's the chance of that $300 billion being abused and creating another slush fund like USAID has created all over the world?
Well, I fall in the camp that things we're going to have some pause here in order to buy a little more time to get things sorted out. That's why you have to have military intervention. And you'll notice that the president never talks about the midterms with a date. He talks about the midterms in a generic sense because it may not happen on time.
Well, I actually don't think it's going to happen on time. I think mathematically, I don't think it can. And there's other indications that show that he's watching elections in multiple states, including Colorado. I think that I have a pretty good gut feeling about things that are going to be related to the people that ran Dominion, ran Smartmatic, ran Clear Ballot, ES&S, those. So, but it does lead you to believe that at some point, President Trump is 80 years old. He's going to step out of that role. Somebody else got to step in it. Is it Marco Rubio? Is it a?
Let me just say this. We may not have yet seen the person who steps in to replace Trump, but let me also add this. You'll never get another Reagan.
Yeah.
You'll never get another Trump. Okay. You can't, um, you have to understand there's a divine component even on this. We wouldn't even be here if there wasn't some divine component. The person that shows themselves able, faithful, true to follow in. I don't think they're on the agenda yet. But more importantly, let's think about it a little differently. I actually don't want to trust this to just one person.
I don't either.
This is about, this group. Look at the people we have here. This is arguably as a audience, one of the most powerful audiences, maybe the most powerful. Down through the people that are here, they're all movers and shakers and all individuals. The way that we get past this is with so much vigilance. We were accused of being vigilantes over at MSNBC.
Yeah.
We have to be vigilant about what's going on. We have to own the moment so that no one politician or individual is able to take us off point. So really, this is about the population reasserting its authorities. It wasn't a politician that got you the Magna Carta. It wasn't a politician that got you the Declaration of Independence. It wasn't a politician that got you the Constitution. It was groups of citizens who got certain legal authorities and then took command of the situation. I think you can't imagine for me what the country's going to look like after we displace the fraudulent people in power, exposed. Look at what Trump did. I don't know if people even caught this. The leak at the Situation Room. What was that leak about? They were talking about the Epstein.
Yeah, that's a good problem.
And
that was a set
of that. What Trump did was say 7 words. Release it all. Put it all up. Okay. He was being briefed. He didn't say, well, I don't want this to go out because it's going to hurt this. They're telling Trump is listening. They say, if we allow this information to be released, and Mr. President, you're telling us you want to release it. That's why they were there in the Situation Room. Trump said, put it all out there. Everybody said that multiple times. You have agency people standing there, military people standing there, people out of the State Department standing there telling him, you can't do that. No, you'll take down 3 governments in Europe. You will take down 2 presidential dynasties. Okay? You just can't do that. You got to understand the consequences. And so
you have Bondi say that they would basically collapse the government if they released all the Epstein thing.
So then you turn around, what does Trump say? He trusts the people, not just the United States, but other countries around the world. Put it out there. We're big enough kids to hear the information. We already know that we have a bunch of criminals. They may be political, monetary criminals. Now we find out they're sex feeds, okay? Against children. Put it out there. That's what Trump did. Because he trusts the judgment, ultimately, of the American people to get it right. And what he's not going to pass the baton solely to another person. He's going to pass it back to the people. That's what this movement is about. And then whoever we get that replaces him, he's not his own man completely. He's the people's man. He better follow what the people want. And we will be alert and awake enough that we say, chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Hey, I've got a lot of people here. I've got, to finish the conference out. I have Mark Cook up there right now. So I stepped away because I know his material pretty well. I wanted to support him. But one more question. What else you got?
That's pretty much it. Again, my biggest, this last 6 years has been ways on me.
Yeah.
And we have the information that you provide, the information that you like Jeff Lundberg, Mark Cook going across the country. So you have some institutionally knowledgeable that are not capable and not knowledgeable that create theories and things like that. So how do we separate the wheat from the chaff?
But I think, you know what? It's already happening natural. I was mentioning just a moment ago to the audience. When I first came in hard in this current phase, I've been on this since the 90s. Okay. We were watching stolen elections in the 90s. I did Whitewater and somebody had all sorts of things. But there was all sorts of people that were on the playing field. It was a free for all. We've had this intervening period of years where we have had a chance to see who's right, who's doing stuff. Time has been our friend. And a lot of people have gone to the wayside. In fact, it's like there's some Judases in there. There's some people that just weren't fully who they said they were. They were giving information that was false, etc. They just didn't know. They thought things were really it, and they didn't really have the Rosetta Stones like that. But as time has gone on, you've gotten a chance. Cream rice is in the top type of thing. You've had a chance to see who the real players are and who the wannabes are. I know you've had that in your own experience.
Yeah, look, if I'm being honest, I've given 6 years, and I ran a $140 million company. I don't really have an appetite for any of the stupid anymore. I've walked around here and talked to a few people that this person told them not to talk to me, and this person said not to talk to me. I've had people
before you and I ever first talked.
Yeah,
I had people. Oh yeah, it's like Robert Davis said. I had people. No, I can't talk to him. I had that over and over, and I'm kind of like, no, I'll make my own mind.
I'm the only legitimate guy that ran a big company that got involved in this and spent millions of my own money. Mike Lindell took me for $3 million. Another guy took me for $2 million. I spent $10 million over the last 6 years, right? And my friction in all of this is that I've been like this. I've been the guy that came forward. I was the first guy to come forward. I was the one that took the most punches. And what happened to Tina, I watched that all happen. I said, do not, whatever you do, don't get on that stage. And you saw what happened to Tina, right? And so you have.
I was not behind that. I didn't know. I don't really talk about it much. The equipment that was used there, I paid for it. So at the end of the day, I was aware of stuff. When Tina got on stage, I didn't know she was in town, and I was there. Okay, and I was like, oh. So
my point is that it's just because I'm confident, because I'm a real guy that has done real things in my life. You've done real things, and because I don't have any patience for the stupid or the I don't know what you call it, incompetent. And it's over 6 years I've had to kind of go these ebb and flows and learn with the punches. I just got to a place where I feel like, all right, I've given enough. It's President Trump's turn. Last night, I was just talking about this. I never believed in Q, never thought it was real. I sat down last night, talked to a bunch of people who were like, Joe, you need to research, go down the rabbit hole. So I did for 6 hours last night, go down the rabbit hole. And I woke up this morning after 3 hours of sleep and I was like, gotta be kidding. Like in 6 years, I spent no time on it because I thought that I could use my own talents and push things across the finish line. Then you start reading all the things that have happened. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a plan.
Yeah.
Right? But the pain of the last 6 years, the betrayal, is a real thing. And the people walking around and saying that I take credit for this, and it's like a high school, right? So I've now gotten to that place where I'm like, why? Why am I even doing this?
No, hold on. Yeah. Here's what I want to say, Joe.
And people talk shit about me to everyone.
I know.
Like I can't even get the news in Colorado or even in Texas. They wrote this huge article about me. I can't get my name out of their mouth. Is it because I'm lying about something, or is it because I'm the truth teller?
You're at the epicenter. Okay, no, seriously, you're at the epicenter. You're close to the target. The flags can be heavier.
Yeah.
I had a relative that was in the cockpit of B-17. It was a B-26. And his friend who went through flight school with them grew up in the same town. They flew together, and they're flying into on a bombing phase. It was instantaneous. There was no warning. They knew they were in a battle zone. A lot of great folks. It tweaked him. In fact, he turned around instead of he was on their 25th mission, last mission. They go home. He stayed. He went 2 more full cycles in the B-26. I believe he did more missions in B-26 than anybody else, and he had done the most missions because the survival rates were very low, and he wanted the other guys to survive. He didn't feel the luxury of leaving because the younger kids wouldn't have the experience that he had. Look, you've got the experience. You've been in this. Even the survival after all the attacks and to stay viable. And I would say even more importantly, you mentioned it a second ago. Yeah, when you've been in combat for a while, you get a little bit jaded, but you still got to be human. You hold it together. We're so close now. Yeah, a lot of the dust is settling, and things that weren't clear, you weren't wrong not to say fixate on Q and stuff like that. You held your own, held your credibility. You stayed in the fight. Like so many of us, you put massive of your own money into this to hold a position. I got that. But as things become clear, even that one revelation, even last night, even to be here, somebody says you got to do this again to get that contact. Very worthwhile because all the work that you've done, all the work that these other people, it's just now coming to a head. To have you still viable and willing to be in the fight and to start, as we're starting to pull these things together, that's the moon and stars. And just don't allow it to make you jaded, which you're not. And you may have a few battle scars.
Yeah.
I'm a little weak in a couple spots. I can feel the twinge once in a while.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're actually truly jaded because you're not. If you were, it doesn't mean you're not a little crusty, but you're not a jaded person. You're still willing to have. You were willing to do that research last night. You're not so crusted over.
No, because I'm a walking encyclopedia of real information, worthless information, but real information.
No, it's not worthless because here's what's going to happen. 5, 10, 15 years ago, you're still a young guy, 25 years from now. There's going to be people still trying to understand this moment in history. And there's going to be all sorts of people want to tell you what happened that don't know shit about what actually happened. There's a number of us that were there that saw it in person. Nobody can change that that we need to be there to kind of help people understand what this moment is about. So it never, ever happens again. Okay. And so relax. If this is coming to you, you're going to be vindicated so much, so many different layers and ways.
I think the dangerous part for me, the part that makes me mad is, look, I know I'm a warrior, and they've called me an anti-Semite, a homophobe, a Islamophobe. They've said, I've been called a liar. I've been called all the things that I'm not, right? Yeah. And none of the things that I am. Yeah.
Well, but hold on.
Right? So it's kind of it's a two-edged sword because reputations get built by people in this movement that have taken away from me what was never theirs to take.
Okay.
And out of all the people,
help you out here. The problem is, we want to toot our own horn a little bit and get a little love. No, hold on.
Don't.
It's in your soul. You at least want to be vindicated a little bit.
I want to be vindicated.
Right.
That is true. I want to be vindicated.
And that's a natural thing because you didn't do anything wrong. Think of Tina. She didn't do anything wrong. And they attack her. But this is all coming full circle now.
Yeah.
And if you say it, it sounds self-serving. But I think that you won't have to say it because it's going to be more and more and more obvious who the real good guys are.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Who put real, sweat and tears, blood, life into it. careers, everything. And there's actually, it's not a small number. There's a lot
There's a lot of good.
here represented here who've done that. You're one of them. I'll be there to say the truth as it happens for you.
It's hard to look at Tina and see what she went through. And then come to the realization that it took a Democrat to get her out of office.
Well,
Get her out of prison.
let me clarify one thing. Let me clarify one thing. Why did Polis do this?
He wanted off the hot seat.
Well, it's more important that the people don't know this. You know what Trump did? He cut off so many vectors of federal money going into Colorado. They were starting to heat up with smoke. Things weren't working right. He understood that he literally had weeks before Colorado was going to run into monstrous problems. And so, even though he had all this pressure, he understood the mechanics of the wings falling off.
Yeah.
We're running out of fuel. The headwind is so much that he just had to do it. He didn't do it because he loved anything. He didn't do it for mercy for Tina. He didn't do it for even the president, except that Trump had numerous calls when he said, we're going to shut this down. I'm going to ask him to shut that down. Colorado's in deep trouble, and they already have huge income issues like that. So he didn't do it for any other reason than that Trump was about to shut Colorado down completely from everything federal. They fall on their face, and he did that to keep that happening. So it wasn't a Democrat that got it. It was Trump.
I know.
The optics, I get it.
This is the jaded part of me.
I get it.
And I'm not jaded towards President Trump at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he did pardon Tina Peters. He set it up, but it just.
As you see the rest of what happens over the next weeks and months, you'll understand better that he couldn't pull the trigger too hard, too fast. This is much bigger than so many.
That's the stuff I got in 6 hours of diving in last night. And I went, you gotta be kidding me. Because then you feel stupid.
Well, and if you have somebody, no, I don't.
He goes 6 years, never looked into it. Then all of a sudden you look into it, you're like,
It was hard.
Yeah.
You had to set aside some logic in order to do that for how it has been working.
Yeah.
All right, I've got to get back to my audience here and help them out. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being my camp counselor and my send me a bill, laying on the couch, getting the advice. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Team effort, okay?
Yeah,
You're a huge member of the team. We don't pull you out every minute, but when we need a guy to come out and kick the ball, okay, you can now that sucker, you can put it between the posts, right?
I do want to say this. Who did it better? Check out the shoes. Who did it better?
Oh shoot, dude! I've got to go get my snake skins out or something. I mean, you nailed it there. Right? Okay, here's what the problem is with those. So I had a beautiful set of boots that were crocodile boots, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm wearing, I had a fairly expensive suit, custom tailored pants, right? Doggone if those boots, the scales would catch the hem at the bottom.
Yeah.
I just been walking on the hem.
Yeah.
And it was pulling right off. It just ripped it off. So some of the boots are, I enjoy these because they're just comfortable when I wear them all the time. But I probably got a dozen pair of boots. But those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I like is the texture and the color.
Yeah, that's what I bought them because nobody else had them. I was like, anybody have those? They're like, no. I was like, I'll take it.
And the only other thing I would say is that I'm kind of a pointy toe one because I like to stick right up their ass sometimes. So I don't know. Those there, you probably, if you kicked them, they'd end up on the moon or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well,
love you, Joe.
love you too, brother.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for everything you do.
All right.
All right. Is that? Paracoup. By the way, you got
Those are
Peter
fit.
kicked in over there.
There you
Peter,
go.
say hi.
Did we have fun yesterday on the stage? You were so fun yesterday when we had you on the stage. Really, it was beautiful. So,
did you get to watch?
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets with Craig Lund back again. Silicon Satan been revealing a lot on the Luciferian trying to control the world, and they struck back. So we're going to talk about that and Craig, so glad to see you. You kind of went through a little, I don't know if they're trying to perform a ritual on you or what happened there, but we're glad to have you back.
It's good to be back. I'm still a little woozy, so bear with me here.
Yeah, tell us
Still a
what
little bit
happened.
shell-shocked. Well, I got arrested on assault 2nd degree and attempted escape 3rd degree. And I was injured during the arrest and was admitted into the hospital overnight. So they just scooped me up and took me to the jail. They wouldn't give me my meds. I mean, I understand that. They really can't. I mean, I brought my meds with me, but they don't know what I've done to them. So they had to go through their procedure to get their doctor to verify the meds and then go to their pharmacy to get them. And that could take days. And I need my meds like, daily.
Yeah.
So while I was in there, my blood pressure kept rising and it got to 196 over 145. And my heartbeat was at 98. And I went into a seizure. And that's when they put me in front of the judge, got the bail, and got me out of there. And so now we've got to, we were in the process of trying to move out of this place because of the problems here that Washington State has with the homeless and the drug addicts and their policies. Normal tax-paying person will get arrested for not paying property taxes, but the squatters up here can sit on a piece of property that hasn't had taxes paid for 8 years and nobody does anything. Meanwhile, they're building Tijuana-style shanty towns all over this mountain. And it's been an ongoing struggle for us for the last 10 years to try to get something done. And we realized nothing's going to get done. And so we're in the process right now. We've spent most of our life savings buying and building these 2 tiny homes for us and our daughter. And we're making plans to get out of here. And then they've kept us here for a while. So I have to bear through it. But, to be honest with you, whistleblowers need to understand that this is probably going to happen. These kinds of things are probably going to happen. And you should be prepared mentally more than anything. To be honest with you, I wasn't really quite as prepared as I thought I was. And it's taking a toll on me and my family to the point that we're not desperate, but we're very, very terrified at this point. In fact, the cops are back up here this morning.
Wow.
I mean, they could show up at any time and harass us a bit more. I mean, I understand they're doing their job, but not everybody's a tyrant. But there's a lot of tyrannical forces in the world, not just here but everywhere. And when you face it, it's pretty terrifying because you hear about it, but when you come face to face with it, it's a whole different act.
Yeah, you would hope that show like this will get to those guys. They'll watch it and just say, "No, we're not gonna press this anymore. This is BS." Washington State. You got the communists taking over that state. Seattle, you got a communist mayor, just like we're seeing in New York and all this. That this is part of the deep state, agenda. The multi-billionaires that you talk about in Silicon Satan are trying to really destroy not just our country. They destroy our country, the world's gone, but the world in general.
Yeah, right. Again, their plan is to take over the world, like any mad scientists. Take over the world, kick God out of it, and run it themselves. And as crazy as that sounds, they have a pretty good plan if they can pull it off. If they can get this technology to work the way they hope, then they stand a pretty good chance. But of course, God will always intervene, like He did at Tower of Babel. When they get too close to fruition, He'll jump in and screw it all up for them. But the other problem I think they're having is that technology is going faster than they can debug it. So half the stuff, I don't know if you have this problem, but half the stuff I buy now doesn't work. Right? There's like a 50% return rate. And that's because people are trying to shove, I was in software development for years back in the day, and we were very careful about bugs, sending stuff out too early. We would delay things, even if it meant, even if it cost us on the bottom line. But these days, everybody's just shoving things out the door, and you really don't know what you're getting. They don't know what they're putting out even sometimes. You got these guys saying, like Sam Altman saying, "Oh, we don't even really know how it works." And I think that's not as nefarious of a statement as it sounds. I think he's actually being honest because they don't know how it works because nobody really understands that. You get all these modules thrown together, all these pieces thrown together, and you hope it's going to work. It's kind of like the the Hubble Space Telescope, when they sent it up and it didn't work. And it's because I was working for Keck Telescope at the time, so we had a lot of insider info. But the reason why it didn't work is because they never did a system test. They did regression tests on all the components. So each component, that team has a set of specs that they're trying to go by. And when they meet those specs, they're done. Then they hook everything up together, and they never tested. Never put light in one side to see what came out the other side. They just sent it up, and it was blurry because it didn't work. And that's just, I think that's what the Lucy's are kind of running into, and that's why they're panicking so much. There's this big push, 2030 is coming. They have a lot to do between now and then. A lot of bodies to bury.
And you're, you, me, and so many others are trying to expose them as fast as we can to slow them down and trip them up. And they're obviously not liking that. And they push back on us. I mean, we all of us that are in the truther community, the real truthers, the ones that aren't truthers seem their channels keep growing. They get more money and all kind of crazy stuff, but we're getting massively suppressed. So that should be a good sign for everybody. So a show like this, you want to really push it out there because the algorithms are being manipulated on a massive scale to suppress this kind of information. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think still there's too many people that are asleep. There's still too many people watching football and going to McDonald's. So it's I'm on your side. I'm on your team, but our team is small, and we don't have the kind of resources that the Lucy's have. So all we have, in my opinion, is the power of God, and whatever that means to everybody. I mean, everybody knows has a version of what I'm talking about, but we really need to, at this point in humanity, rely on that power that is afforded us. It's been given to us. Let's use it. Let's use the power of prayer and all the rest. Yeah, I mean, the power of prayer is incredible. Before the show, you reached out to me and you're like, you've never done a Give, Send, Go before. And so you started one up because of your legal expenses, and I talked to you before the show, you got a really good lawyer that's going to it's a good lawyer, not one that's going to take your money and, screw you over, that knows the law and is going to help you. So that costs money. I mean, you have a book. You used to be a multimillionaire. You walked away from that because you had to. Otherwise, you're going to do what these guys do, and you weren't going to play that game. So, thank you so much for doing that and exposing all this. We wouldn't know this on the level that we do now if it wasn't for you. I know it was very hard for you, like you talked about for years. I'll write this. I was the same as you. I'm gonna speak out, and then I don't think so. And then I'm gonna do it, and then back and forth, and then God helps you, and then you finally do it, like I did. But they come after you. You've had experiences where they've come after you, and they just recently did. I was on the Pacific Crest Trail one time when I walked away from that, deep state organization, and a little white helicopter with no lights, no markings, totally blacked out, flew alongside me when I was on this one mountain trail that was like, if I fell, I would be in a ravine and it would find me. And then it started hitting me with a heart attack machine over and over and over. So they do these types of things to us that they feel threatened by. The thing that keeps us safe and helps us is exposing like you're doing and like I'm doing. But it's still a risk. It's still a massive risk. So you're doing the Give, Send, Go. I saw that. It was your first link. And I was like, well, I'm gonna set the example. And so I sent some money just after you and your wife basically were doing a prayer, and you said amen, and then 2 seconds later, we were right in the middle of our morning prayers, and we were praying for this attorney. I didn't want to go cheap because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of revelations I want to get out. And this might be a good catalyst for doing that. So I wanted to make sure I got a good attorney. I've had a DUI and stuff in the past, and I went with the mediocre attorneys, and it didn't work. It didn't work out well. They basically took the money and did nothing.
And then I've had some issues with, civil issues with property and stuff. The same thing. I went not cheap, but not high end. But this time I need to go high end because I need good representation. When people say, well, who is the they? It's like, well, there isn't a group, one particular group. There's their side and then there's our side. And their side has a lot of people and our side does. And those certain members of that side may take it upon themselves to attack me for what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that they went up the chain of command and got, an okay from a general or something. It doesn't work like that. It's just some guys on that side got together and said, we got to do something about this guy. And you can tell by what they do. Like if they just write a bad review, they're low level. But if they do something like manipulate a short that you sent out to give me a message, and that means it's moving up. My target is getting bigger. And now this. So, I'm not claiming right now that the two are connected, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, totally a possibility. So, I mean, how much you reveal is very, very crucial. You only give so much reveal, that is, and you wait sometimes and see how that works. And then, sometimes you hold back. I know you're probably holding back a massive amount, as I am, because if you give too much out there, then like what you just got, they'll hammer you. So you have to play this game with them. It's a cat and mouse type game.
Right. By the way, I want to go back to our morning prayer. My wife and I were having our morning prayers, and we were praying for for the resources to hire this attorney. That we were able to hire her, but now we're pretty strapped at this moment. But I'm in our morning prayers. We said amen, and then the computer dinged. I went on and looked at it, and it's like, oh, somebody just sent a donation, and it was you. So thank you very much. It's not just the money; it's the show of support that's more important to us than anything. We don't want to feel alone.
When I was deciding, to do that, I was my end. I was how should I do this? Should I do it now? How much and so forth in it? And that's good. Okay, so then I sent it, and then you came back with a really nice response. That was beautiful. Thank you for that response. I've never gotten anybody respond back to me, so I get to a lot of people. So that was beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to respond to everybody that decides
good.
Anybody and everybody wants to help. Anybody and everybody wants to help us. I will. Right.
Every little bit makes a difference, and then we have a very generous audience. So hopefully, they step up and help you out, because what you're doing is for all of humanity. They want to take you down so that humanity doesn't have any clue of what's going on, and they're suppressed more and more and more. So we're helping to bridge a gap in consciousness and knowledge that very few people are willing to step up and do. It's very, very rarefied air where we're at, but I think a lot of people support well, I know they do. They support us quite a bit, so it's good.
Yeah, it's even if somebody just gave $5, it's just a show of support. It's us knowing that there's people back there that are watching our back. It's more than anything. That's more important more than anything. We've always been isolated, always been alone. I'll admit that over the last few months, I've gotten pretty cocky with myself. Thinking that, oh, okay, I'm untouchable now. They'll never come after me now, and boom. So yeah, what you were saying earlier is right on. You gotta time this. You gotta be careful and try to stay one step ahead of them.
Yeah, and I in the chat, I'm giving the Give Send Go because people are asking for it, but also in the description box, they will give the Give Send Go too. So it started. Hopefully, it'll increase. Now I know you're on other shows. You've been on my show. You've been on Nino's show. What other shows have you been on?
John Pounders, Sean Atwood.
Oh yeah, Sean Atwood. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember I saw you on Sean Atwood's show, and they were like trying to swat you while you were on the show, weren't they?
Yeah. I got swatted. Yeah. Well, it's not exactly swatted. The SWAT team didn't come up here, but yeah, we got interrupted. I'll
Wow.
say, we interrupted. And then that's happened a few times. And then, like I said, they came up here again this morning. Made me nervous as hell. But my wife dealt with them, and I was able to do the show. I was afraid they were going back to jail for some reason.
Hmm.
She's out there talking to them. I'm in here on my knees praying.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I know it's tough, and what you're sharing is incredible. So your book Silicon Satan. Last time we were on together, you kind of went deep. You went a lot deeper than I think you've ever gone, and that's kind of where the pushback came from. So I know your second book's coming. This will be I know it's going to take a little time for that to come out, but what a great timing for that book to come out when it does in the next few months or however long it is, because that'll help with the sales. And when you get a couple books out that are similar, that pushes really good. And to let everybody know, it's in Audible. I've listened to it in Audible. It's very hard for me to, sit down and read a book these days, but I travel a lot, so I was able to listen to that book. You may have to listen to that book on earpods.
Bible on your lap.
AirPod, yeah. Otherwise, people around you might get offended or might not like what's being disclosed. So just be aware of that.
The truth is hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wrote that book hard on purpose because I wanted the reader to understand the world out there that I was in. I could have sugarcoated it, but what good would that have been? In fact, to be honest, I did sort of sugarcoat it because the editors didn't like the original version, so I had to go back and edit it. And the second book was the second book I was shooting for October, but now with this, I'm not going to be able to finish it in time. But frankly, I want to change it because it's based on my life, right? And my life is changing, so I need to go back and kind of integrate some of these new revelations and some of the things that have been happening into the book, because it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's not random, and it's not it's not delusion. It's real.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to prepare. I was kind of unprepared for this. I'm not going to be unprepared any longer, but everybody needs to prepare for something like this coming their way, especially if you're a truther, especially if you're digging for the truth and you're not accepting the narrative. You need to prepare, not necessarily with guns and food and gold, but mentally, spiritually. You got to be strong. I thought I was, and I realized I've got some weaknesses I got to work on.
And that's a good point. I was about to say, God is going to continually test us there, and we'll see how committed you are. And here you are, you're back at it. So I think this is fantastic. It's again, you have to learn that to be discriminating on what to reveal and what not to reveal. Probably names.
Yeah, well,
probably names not so good.
Yeah, names are not so good anymore. But we never get tested the way and when we want, right?
Yeah.
It's always a surprise.
Absolutely.
And when you get tested like that, it's because you have a weakness, right? If you get a surprise test and it hurts, and that's a wake up call. That's God telling you need to work on your spiritual side or your patience or whatever it is. That's my opinion.
Very good. All right, so these guys are still going forward with their plans.
Oh yeah,
we're at a point where I think there may be election still revealed, and that's really going to upset them, because they can't stay in power without placing people in power that allow them to do the things they do. So the election is very, very sacrosanct to them. So they want to control that, and it looks like there may be some elections still revealed that are coming up. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the big, I don't think they really care, but the big problem they have is that revealing election fraud and things like that is a crack in the dam, and it could open the eyes of certain people who are just sort of sheep. Absolutely. Walking around half asleep. They might see that one thing, and that's the crack. That's all that they needed to want to see more, right? And the dam comes down, and the information floods in, and they're overwhelmed. But that's the way it is. That's the way that's a good thing. So I think that a lot of these issues to them are very small. When you're trying to take over the universe and kick God out of heaven, things like election integrity isn't a big deal, but they needed that to get to the place that they are. So to have that revealed is just a small little piece of evidence that some people might need to wake up. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I never thought about that. I thought that once they reveal, it's just a done deal, but they don't really care. I mean, they're going to manipulate and they're going to control probably going forward, regardless of what happens. But if the information becomes a flood, they can't control it, like you said, and that disturbs them. That's interesting. Kind of like what they're trying to do with you. They can't control you, and so they're trying to, because you're basically creating a bigger crack in the dam.
Right.
Now I understand. That's good.
Dogs are barking. It makes me nervous. I've got some good dogs up here.
They know what's going on. Geez. So yeah, you need to like take a little trip somehow. Might be a good timing. Sorry, I was gonna say the last time I was in jail was a DUI in Tahoe City, and man, that was a nice jail. They brought me coffee in the morning. You know. Wow.
This place I was just in is hell. I mean, it's like I didn't realize it was so bad. It's really bad.
Wow.
I mean, you know, not everybody's a tyrant. There are some good people, but there are a lot of tyrants in the world today.
Yeah.
There was some good. Sorry, there were the med staff in the jail were very good. Let me say that. They did not want me there. They needed to get me out. Right.
Well, good for them to at least, you know, give you a little bit of mercy on that end. We would like to see that from the beginning. They see your name and like, yeah, we're not going to do that one again. All right. You guys lied to us about him. So hopefully they do their homework and find out that you're not a threat, and some of the charges against you maybe are, you know, false. So I guess that's up to you.
I mean, it's always a possibility, right? It's always a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you see going? What do you see going forward? You've talked about this in the past. Near term, what you see? You know,
what do you mean? In what context are you talking about?
In context, as far as like or the riots in the streets, or some kind of space alien invasion, or
yeah. So if you study hypnosis, there's a technique where they can scare you instantly into hypnosis, right?
Hmm.
If you look into it, I mean, you have that kind of background, right? You can, kind of like jolt somebody right into a hypnotic state. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to do something to humanity that jolts most of us into a hypnotic state. It's going to be something very horrible, something very, very scary. You know, the Bible talks about it. The Bible says men's hearts will fail them. I mean, I think that's just a way of saying that, you know, they may go into a withdrawal, mode. Thank you, Blue-Eyed Bandit 17. I like that, Blue-Eyed Bandit 17. I mean, there must be 16 other Blue-Eyed Bandits then, right?
That's good. Yeah, so that's interesting. So any idea what that could be? So I mean, if we
lots of ideas.
It would probably be forced to do something else. But you know, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's lots of possibilities. They may do one or two or all of them all at the same time. I mean, you could do the whole alien invasion thing. You could do the monsters from the pits thing. I mean, there's all kinds of things they could do. They could do a sun. They could do a blackout. You know, most people would go hypnotic and their whole world would shut down. You know, you talk about these people in the inner cities and even in the suburbs, they rely on, you know, up here we make our own electricity. We have to deal with our own water. We have to deal with our own sewage. People down there aren't used to that. They flush the toilet and it's gone, right? What happens if that stops? What's your backup plan? What's your backup plan if the electricity shuts off? So up here we've learned to always have redundant systems, always have backups, and always have, you know, I try to have three different, you know, my main system, and then a backup system, and then a fallback in case, you know, all hell breaks loose, whatever that is. And that's kind of thinking everybody needs to have right now, because we're entering a state in humanity where it's going to be a fight to the death. I think I mean, it seems obvious at this point. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
for the guy down there.
Because I'm looking at the midterm elections, and I think both sides are very polarized. If one side has a better, outcome than the other, there's probably going to be some uprisings.
Probably. I mean, on both sides, actually, at this point. I don't think, no matter who wins, okay, my opinion is, no matter who wins, there's going to be riots, and no matter who wins, nothing's going to get done. It'll be status quo, like it always is. I don't mean to be a pessimist, but that's just my worldview right now, based on what I've been to the last week.
Interesting. So somebody said that the link in the show that I just posted works, but the one that I put in the description doesn't. So I'm going to change that right now. So while we're talking, so talk away so I can focus a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll talk about. Yeah, it's very humbling to have to do a GoFundMe. Very humbling, but it's a good lesson. It's a good lesson in humility. Like I said, I was walking around getting kind of pretty arrogant with myself, because I felt like I was pulling this off, and people are reading the book, and people, I think I've opened up quite a few people to what really goes on. I think that the message is spread. Now I'm in a situation where I have to, cover my ass for doing that, and the legal system, I wouldn't say it's broken, but it sure is expensive. I mean, there's definitely a 2-tier legal system, just like 2-tier medical. I'm trying to get into that top tier because I'll have the best luck or the best results if I can get there. And that's what the Give, Sin, Go is all about. I need to get that kind of representation in order to do the things that I need to do from this point. I walked into this knowing the potential for trouble, but I never really expected it. And now here it is. So now I have to deal with it. And I can't hear you. Oh, your mic is off. Anyway, so anyone who has been in this situation,
in the description, I captured it from I have a crew that does work for me, and their link was defective, unfortunately. I guess maybe it's because of when I transferred it over, but anyway, it's fixed now. So thank you guys in the chat for discovering that. So appreciate that. So when you do shows, you get responses, I'm sure. Like you can look at book sales and people responding to you in different ways. You do my show, you do Nino's show, and Sean Atwood. Sean Atwood, I would feel, because he's got a very, very large audience. I've had him on a show before, way back when I had a large audience of subscribers before they canceled me. So I'm still building back my channel, but when you're on these shows and you get a lot of views, what kind of responses do you get? I think because you're doing a Sean Atwood show, that's when they tried to swat you, because you're getting a lot of views then. Like a show like mine, you kind of like a little bit under the wire, but you're still getting out there.
Yeah. So mostly the responses are very positive. Most responses, I'd say 85% of them are very positive. Another, 10% are kind of negative, and the other 5% obviously didn't even read the book. They just read the first few chapters and said, "This is a terrible book." And I wrote in the preface, "This book is not for everybody." So my opinion is that book is not for them. They shouldn't have ever bought it. But in fact, I'll even refund them. Well, if I could. But book sales usually bump when I go on like your show or really any show, even shows that people never heard of. Book sales will bump, and that's good. But you really can't. I don't. When I was young, if you wrote a book, you were you became a millionaire. These days, if you write a book, you're one of 10 million. Right? There's really not a lot of. There's really not. You can't really make a livelihood writing books. And I didn't. That's not why I wrote this book, for the royalties. Yeah. And the royalties are very, very minimal. I mean, I spend that much on dinner. But it's what more what the six my measure of success is how many books are sold and how many positive reviews there are. And so far, it's holding it at 4.0. If those people that shouldn't have read the book didn't give it a 1 star, then it'd probably be a lot better. But it goes with the territory, right? The second book will be a lot easier to read and a lot more descriptive and a lot more disturbing. I don't mean like pornography disturbing or that kind of thing, but I mean sort of disturbing in that this has gone on for so long and they've been getting away with it for so long that here we are and it's to be hell to get back out of it.
Yeah, so revealing, and I felt the first book was revealing.
Even if the Lucys quit today, it's going to take humanity 2 generations to recover.
I totally agree. And to find them, because they're heavily embedded everywhere, it's going to take a long time to root them out completely.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, if their source of power is gone, if Lucifer himself is chained and locked away, then they have nothing. They have no hope. They have no power. They have no insider information.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. So, in your first book, it was incredibly revealing. The stuff on Hawaii was blew my mind. I was like, holy smokes. And then I was like, well, gosh, that makes so much sense. All of the top elite are buying up Hawaii, Maui, and, some people bought their own islands, right? So we won't name names, but there's a lot of the elite that are out there.
It's public record. Larry Ellison owns his own Hawaiian island. He owns Lanai. Yeah. I mean, every man wants to own an island, right? But who gets to own an entire Hawaiian island?
And not just a little one. We're talking hundreds of acres.
One of the nice ones. One of the nice, very nice island. And no telling what's down in those lava caves.
Yeah. So I've talked about the big island. I've had some military types that do submarine stuff, and they've told me how there's in the sea, there's channels that go into the submarines into the Hawaiian, the big island, and there's people told me about UFOs that are faster than anything we have that travels in the air, jet fast, and in groups flying through the water. So that's reveals that they don't like out there, but because when I revealed that many years ago, they took down that video. So now we can talk about it though, because you start revealing like you have, it's like you're like the point man. You're moving forward. It's dangerous work. You could spring an ambush or something like that, but you're being as aware as you can so that doesn't happen. And then everybody comes behind you, and then you have the force, the group, all of us here watching that move forward, and we own that then, and they can't get it back.
Right, exactly. I lived in Hawaii for years, and the reason why, and I wrote the process control system for the dome and shutters of the Keck telescope up there, and the reason why they have so many, if you look at the top of Mauna Loa, there's all the biggest, most expensive telescopes are up there. Most of them. There's a lot. I think it was 12 now.
Wow.
Keck being the most high tech. Keck is actually a 2 telescope, so you can get sort of like a binocular vision kind of thing. But anyway, while I was there, we did a lot of exploring, did a lot of scuba diving in the lava tubes. And we did a lot of we hooked up with a group that was treasure hunting, not for profit, but to protect the natural resources, the treasures of Hawaii. Because there's a lot of bad treasure hunters who are going in and grave robbing the lava tubes, where a lot of the elite are buried, with their cloaks and their canoes and all their artifacts. But there's not, the reason why the telescopes are Mauna Kea is because the sky is so clear. You're in the middle of the ocean. There's no light pollution from nearby cities.
Right.
And there is water vapor diffraction, but the telescopes are at 14,000 feet. So they're above all that. So you've never seen a sky like you can, when you're at the top of Mauna Kea on a clear night looking up, it's weird, it's odd. There's things flying around all over the place. It looks like you're looking at a telescope at pond water. You know, there's all these little things, you know, swimming around all over the place. That's what the Hawaiian sky looks like.
Wow.
Especially if you have night vision. With night vision, it's
Oh, yeah.
you know, you feel like you start getting woozy. Like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, I've had a guy on my show that was a former Air Force guy, and he's the one that told me about the fleet of you know, UFO types that were, you know, scooting through the water there when he was on top of Mount Loa. What is it called? Mount Loa.
Mauna Kea.
Mauna Kea.
Mauna
So
Kea. Yeah.
yeah. So that, and it gets
Mauna-
snow
Mauna-
up there. So Hawaii gets snow. You know, it's crazy. But sometimes they get a lot. Of snow.
The only blizzard I've ever been in my life was in Hawaii.
Wow.
Blizzard. Yeah. I walked out of the observer, you know, out of the building, heading for the truck, and I got lost. I couldn't find the truck, and it was just by chance that I'm walking around and it's like, oh, there's the building. So I went back in. But yeah, we had to pull on. We used to go up there, ski in the morning, and then pack an ice chest full of snow, and go down to the beach and surf. So we could ski and surf all in the same day. Just to say, it wasn't great skiing, it wasn't great surfing, but we got to say we did it. But anyway, yeah, the reason why the elites really like Hawaii is because Hawaii is one of the only successful cannibalistic societies in history. All other cannibalistic societies tend to implode on themselves, but Hawaii had it all figured out. The elite had it all figured out, and that's how they lived. People want to claim that's not true, but all you got to do is read some history books, and they talk about Captain Cook being eaten on the beach of I can't remember, Lapahoihoi. No, that's the wrong beach. Starts with that. Anyway, Hawaiian names are big. But because of that, there's a certain thickness of demons on those islands because of the history of you know, torture and cannibalism and baby rituals and, you know, the luau's and, you know, clue a pig and all that. It all goes back to some really nefarious things. You know, clue a pig was not pig originally. There was no pigs on the island. So what do you think it was? What do you think they were cooking and eating? What it's not hard to figure out. So they're attracted to that. They feel comfortable there, and that's why they want to be there and you know, build. I mean, why would you want to be there? It's because of the spiritual, the demonic spiritual activity that is still there, that they relish, that makes them feel comfortable. I mean, there's no other reason why they would be there. It's just property. Otherwise, it's hard to get to, and it's kind of a pain sometimes, and you got to worry about hurricanes and.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you kind of covered that book, and that was extremely revelatory. And then I started doing research, and you were correct. And of course, they try to cover that up and, you know, discount it. And of course, you know, you have to learn how to just look through the BS that they have online. And when you do, then you see through the BS and you start to see the truth. But yeah, that's even deeper insights. So I appreciate that, and hopefully everybody sees that too. Still, the link is not working. I don't know if it's YouTube or what, but I'll figure it out. It's working in the chat, so almost stick it in the chat again, guys. I guess some of you guys have been giving in the chat, so that's great. I'll figure out what's going on with this link. It could be something that it'll work, and then it won't. So if it's ever not working, I got some people that you know, check this stuff out. So let me know, guys. You guys that are monitoring the sites and so forth, appreciate that. So they're all going to Hawaii. Are they going to Hawaii because they think that everything's going to, like, you know, go bad here in the United States?
No, I think they go there for retreat and respite. So they go where they feel the most comfortable and most protected, where they can get away with, you know, the crimes that they do, pretty out in the open. I mean, I was there at one point, and it was right out in the open. You know, they were doing a ritual, and it was right there on the beach. You know, any tourist could have. Well, it's kind of a long ways from the highway, but you know, it's possible that somebody could have stumbled in, kind of thing. So they go there, they go there, they buy property there, they live there because that's the place where they get the most energy, most demonic energy. And they can get away with so much there because they own it, right? When you own an island, you own the police force, you own everything.
Yeah, kind of like Washington State, huh?
Kind of like, yeah. There's a weird connection between Washington State and Hawaii. Hawaii, Hawaii, Alaska, and Washington all have this weird connection.
Huh.
I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I will.
So there's obviously always some kind of spiritual energy involved in that. They'll come in, like here in Lake Tahoe. I know there's people there, and people are like, they're all, Larry Ellison's here. He's buying up these properties and he's converting them. And I'm like, guys, do a little research. Come on. So
Just a little bit.
Lake Tahoe has incredible energy, and I'm trying to protect that, right, with my own very good energy. But they're trying to compromise that, unfortunately, and I think they might. Yeah. But that's something that you've seen, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why he's got such an interest in Tahoe. I can see what he owns, both of Malibu and most of probably all of Silicon Valley now. I did a extensive research on how many companies he's procured over the years, and the list is so long that even when I scroll it so fast you can't read it, it goes on for 5 minutes. Good. It's like every company, every software company you ever heard of is in the list. So
do you think it's all his money, or is there a combination of billionaires that are involved in that?
I'm sorry, what? Say that again.
Do you think it's all his money that's doing all that, or are there consortium of billionaires that are doing this? Because I think the billionaires are trying to control. Obviously, we talk about how they're trying to control the world, but America and companies and so forth. It's just a conglomeration of these guys, right?
Right. So at that level, he has a lot of freedom to make his own decisions. He's not exactly a puppet. He's not exactly a master either. He's sort of at that level. They're kind of in two worlds.
Yeah,
they're puppets over in excuse me, in Lucifer's world, but they're masters over in our world.
Right.
Whereas most of the players that you see, Pelosi, that kind of level, those are just strictly puppets. They're just doing the bidding, and they're getting rich off of it, and that's all they care about. Oh, and they think that they're going to live forever as well. I mean, even if they did pull this off, I think some of these people are being fooled into thinking that they're going to go, they get to go too. It's like one of those things where, okay, you were useful for a while, we don't need you anymore, bye.
And you would think they would see that, because there's so many that it seems like they use them and then they boom, use them and they're out.
You would think it must be a tough life to live that precariously, thinking, okay, I'm going to get to live forever, or maybe not. If I slip up, I'm going to lose it. I mean, they may as well worship God. It's a lot easier, and the payoff's a lot bigger.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yep. So I mean, you're still revealing fake. So hopefully you're able to continue on this. I think this is a good line right here for you. Hopefully we get you back on Nino and all the way up the chain again.
I'm scheduled to be on Sean Atwood tomorrow.
Good.
John Chalmers on Monday.
Love his work. He's really trying to put this stuff out there. So good.
And I'm supposed to be on Nino sometime, but we haven't set the date yet. So I'm trying to get back out there. And it's a good time to promote the book again. Not for the royalties, but to get the word out, get the message out. And I mean, again, I need help. I really need help with this
good.
attorney.
I'm watching, and they're coming in. They're helping out. So thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic, and hopefully that continues. And you go to Sean Atwood's; he's got a huge audience. I hope they stock you up as well. We get to your goal. That's I think that's a small goal, but every little bit helps up to that point. And you guys that can't afford it, pray. Prayer is also incredibly valuable, guys. Almost as much, if not more.
Probably more in my world. And the amount we're asking for is just the down payment.
Wow.
Then there's high monthly fees, but that's okay. I don't mind. I need to do this right. I need to do this well.
Right.
I need the kind of resources it takes to do that. This kind of work. And they'll write all about it.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to write so much in my life. I was very reluctant to write the first book. Now I have like 10 more I want to go.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a series. Because it could go on. Because I know you've got a lot of info, and think as you're talking about, as things evolve, then you're seeing a bigger picture. Pieces of puzzle come together for you. You understand more. Going on these talk shows, when you talk, it seems to like open your creative aspect, and things start to come in more. So that's good too. And you're revealing because God wants you to reveal, and God is going to continue to like inform you and help you. So it's good.
Yes.
Doing God's work. So it's sometimes it can be a little challenging, like you've told us. So that's fantastic, Craig. What else do you see as far as like going forward? You talk about possibility. Now I think you're right about, because I'm already starting to experience it. I've never seen the type of pressure on the internet and getting information out that I'm seeing right now. It's looks like we got a little bit of headway, and now it's really coming back, and it's pushing back more than I've ever seen it. At least they have let us keep our channels now, but same thing happening to Nino. I see his show's getting hammered. Another buddy's Scott McKay. He's basically getting hammered as well. So a lot of us are getting hammered. So I think you might be right as far as the internet going down. Now a lot of people are like, I can't wait till they have the 10 days of darkness or 3 days of darkness or 4 days of darkness, whatever it is. I don't think that's a good idea, personally.
Well, I think a lot of people think that if 10 days, 3 days, whatever, it's gonna wipe out these data centers and these AI machines. It's not. I've already looked into it. 10 days of darkness isn't going to work. These things are just Grok, for instance, is run on a supercluster called Colossus. It's out of Memphis, Tennessee, but it's mirrored all over the place. So if you take that one down, it just does, the redundant one comes up. Take that one down, the other one comes up. Same thing with the data centers. They're all over the place, and they're very robust. The only weakness that I can find in their entire security system is human management. In their line of defenses, you will run into human management. We rely on human management to solve this. Well, that's our door in. We got to get to those guys, get them to wake up, get them to understand what the power that they have, and get them to shut it off. And that's the only way I can think of. And I think that's one of the things I'm going to write about. In fact, if you look at my X account, I have it pinned at the top, so a little excerpt kind of along those lines of Raj and Wally trying to shut down the AI that's running the world at that point. The next book is kind of going into the future. The first book takes the reader from how it started to now, and the second book was going to be like from now to what I believe is going to occur. I'm trying to make it more of a prediction kind of book than what happened is going to be this way. And by the way, so there's a term called chasing the herd, where you get certain animals that can never focus in on one prey because the herd is so big. Everything that passes by they chase, and no one passes by. So they end up catching nothing because they don't know how to focus. I think that's what the Lucy's are doing to humanity right now. Is they're just inundating us with this herd of issues to keep a track of, and so I find myself bouncing, and I'll go on this one, and then something will catch my eye, and I'll go on that one, and I realize I'm not getting anywhere. I'm doing these half-assed research efforts, and then I get interrupted by something else, and I realize, oh, they're controlling me again. So you really got to, if you're interested in something, you really got to focus on it, and don't let the distractions get to you. And I think it's important now that people listen to their heart right now in humanity. Our brain's got us in a mess. Now it's time to listen to our heart. And so if that herd is passing by, wait until you get a message on which one to go after.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. Very, very good. So yeah, intuition going forward. That's your connection to God source. Is going to be very, very, very valuable going forward. I've written a book on that, The Intuitive Warrior, and it's done really well. Again, they've hammered that book. They've hammered the book companies that I started with. They're gone. Took my money with them, coming. I had fantastic reviews. They sent some people in to give me bad reviews. Kind of sounds like you're getting the same type of stuff, but we're going to prevail and we're going to win because ultimately we have God on our side. Now, let's say Larry Ellison, let's say there's someone above him who, well, obviously Lucifer is the one that's top, but who do you think is at the point where, say even Larry Ellison is not, he doesn't have full control. There's a little bit of puppeting that goes on with him. Is there anyone out there that doesn't have puppet strings on them?
Well, they do everything in threes, right?
Right.
30, numbers are very important to them. So they do everything in threes. And under Lucifer, there's going to be 3 direct reports, and we'll never know who they are. And under those 3 direct reports, are 3 more. So now you're up to 9. We still won't know who they are. It's when you get to around 27, and when you get down to like layer 9, is when we will start recognizing names. And that's kind of where the Larry Ellisons are right now. So there's still, quite a few levels. They may have been in certain sit downs with the devil himself, but it's not usually the way it works. It's because he is an omnipotent. He can't be everywhere, all over the place. So it's kind of like the way a CEO would run a company. Delegate, and then delegate, and then delegate, but then reward when certain teams have success. So that's why they're constantly battling. So the 3 circles, Lucy China, Lucy America, Lucy Russia, are constantly battling for the number 1 position in Lucifer's kingdom. So a lot of these battles aren't for us. It's like I like to use Game of Thrones as the analogy. All those houses weren't fighting for the peasants. They were fighting for power and control. They were fighting for the gold. They were fighting to be the number 1 in the kingdom, right? It's the same thing here. And then underneath each one of those, like the Lucy America, there's going to be 3 more groups. So in Lucy America, there's Silicon Valley, DC, and Hollywood, the three main direct reports. And then you can go underneath those. So the reason why Larry Ellison's so interested in Malibu is because his son and daughter are both top Hollywood producers. So that's the technology Hollywood connection. It's been going on for quite a while. Name any movie, any top movie, and one of those 2 are the producer.
Wow.
It's Megan Ellison and David Ellison. And what's interesting is that they're both trannies. The son is a trans man, and the daughter is a trans woman. But then they have to do that. It's part of their androgyne agenda, part of their religion.
Because isn't Lucifer a trainee as well?
Yeah, I guess. So the legend goes. I really don't know, to be honest with you, but it makes sense that he would be.
Never met him, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Or her, whatever. Him, her.
Yeah. So the way they work it, if you want to move up in the world, you have to either do a blood ritual and have someone close to you assassinated, or do it yourself. And that's what a lot of these Red Scarf suicides and other Charlie Kirk assassinations are about. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know for a fact, but sorry, I just heard something. It makes me nervous every time I hear something. Don't keep that brain for the share.
I
Very annoyed. But so what was I talking about?
So you're talking about you've talked about this before. These things,
okay.
predicted, and you predicted like a 3. Someone.
Yeah, I was talking about. So if you want to move up, you either do the assassination, and if you can't do that, then you have to raise one of your children as a tranny. That's why there's so many trannies in Hollywood, because a lot of them don't want to do, and they don't get that. Those don't get that. They get they're A-listers, but they're not the George Clooney and that type.
Right.
So if you look at it, you have to wonder, well, why are so many Hollywood stars raising their kids to be trans? I mean, every man wants his son to be a man, right? I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter how crazy you are. It's just there's too many of them for it to be a coincidence. They're doing it on purpose, and this is the reason why. It's a substitute.
Gotcha. So you look at I remember this controversy came up with Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, when you look at when James, whatever was born, they announced that the proud parents of a boy, and then eventually we find out that that's the girl, and so things don't kind of match up there. But I see what you're saying. They don't want to do I've never heard that before, so that's interesting. They don't want to do the sacrifice, so they do a trainee child. Interesting.
So if Sonny and Cher's child, Chastity, the little girl, is a weird example because that child was born a boy. They raised her as a girl to fulfill the requirements, and then later in life, when the child decided I didn't want anything to do with it, went back to trying to be a boy, but is claiming that he's a female transitioning to a male, when really all he's doing is he's a male raised as a female, now coming back out as a male. No telling what they did to him. No telling what kind of surgeries and such that he's dealing with now. But the other thing is, for him to get out, for him to even do that, he had to have Sonny sacrificed. Well, Cher had to.
Here in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Going in between the trees or something, and there's a total story behind that. So yeah, I think it was executed.
The whole story is bizarre, like they always are, when they do this kind of thing. There's too many holes, and
and there was talk that he was going to start to reveal on child trafficking or something like that. So maybe all that stuff is weighed against him, and they're like, okay, we're going to sacrifice him, and then Cher, you get to move up a little bit. Now, so I know of someone that was with Cher and Bon Jovi. And they invited him as a rock and roller. They invited him to a castle in Europe, and they were like, they wanted to do I'm out, and so that really is going on out there.
It really is, and the interesting thing is, like people when they read my book, they say the first rape scene. Well, it's not a rape scene. It's consensual. The gravy ritual is not rape. You can leave anytime you want, anytime you want. But most of the people don't want to. Every A-lister has gone through that.
Yeah, and I know you talk about it in the book. That was one of the first things that basically is a shocker, because everybody's like, oh, you're gonna.
It's a lot worse than that.
So that's a huge reveal for you guys, and it goes deeper after that. So I mean, you did a great job, I think, of building your storyline. I loved it. It helped me to understand you more, and what you're about, what you're going through. So that was very, very well done.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So how would you recommend your book now? Because you're like, it seems like every time you come on, we're teasing more and more out there. We're not giving away the whole storyline because there's sense in that, because you need to. We could talk about the book and you still won't understand it. You have to read it. Yeah. Right.
So I think the book now, when it first came out, it kind of just sat there, and then Epstein Files came out, and then I got on John Palander's and a couple others, and so people started reading it and took it, got very interested because it's very relevant to today. If I had published this book, 5 years ago, it wouldn't have got nowhere. If I tried to publish it now, they would just call me a copycat. But the timing was damn perfect, and I didn't even plan for it. It just happened that way. But I think now, reading the story, you can skip through the gory parts, and skip through all that you can't read. But you'll get to, at the end of it, you should have a basic understanding of how awful it really is, and what these people are up to and what they're doing. And they're getting away with it.
They really are, and there's no stopping them. It seems like. There's all this talk of arrest, and we see arrests. So talk is cheap. Let's see some action. But What do you think would happen if they really did start to arrest, like Obama or James Comey or somebody like that?
I'd be very surprised if that ever happened. But if it did, I would be very suspect, and I would really do a lot of digging to find out what's going on. Maybe it's just another one of those passing herds, just to throw us off, make us think that things are going on. But nobody's ever been arrested. Nobody. I mean, every now and then, but not the big names. We need the big names. It's like I'm waiting for that. I've talked to you about the 1, 2, 3 ritual. I'm waiting for the third one, and people have mentioned that. How about this one? It's like, no, because nobody knows who these people are. It's going to be well-known people. And again, it's just that's a ritual, but they will put it out there just to distract us and get people talking, get people scared, and get people suspicious. Cause division, right? I mean, Some of us know what's going on. Some of us are clueless, and that causes division.
Right, because there's people that, too many of us, seem to be tapped into what's going on, and they have been saying that the rest are coming. On Nino's show, he's like, they're going to arrest Obama, and then we had Leo Zagami. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's an Illuminati, revealer, and he came on and said they're not going to be arrested, and that sounds like what you're saying as well.
If they, like I said, if they were arrested, I'd be very suspect. It's just a dog and pony show, right? I mean, that would undermine their own cause, and then they might end up with a situation with a whistleblower who can get away with it. I mean, what if they arrested Obama and he started talking?
So what do you think is going to be the thing that really or what are you looking for as far as okay, that's what I'm looking for, and now they're going to be the dominoes are going to start to fall. What do you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one thing I was talking about that sort of puts humanity into a jolt hypnotic state. I think that's going to be the next thing. Everything leading up to that will just be, again, the herd, getting us to wear ourselves out, chasing after this, chasing after that, arguing about whether Obama's going to be arrested or not. I mean, that's just to keep us busy until they're ready to do that big whammy, and boom, there we are. Everybody's unprepared. We didn't know it was coming, and now we're so scared. We don't know what to do. Right? It's dark. There's no food. I can't get on the internet. I can't contact anybody. I can't call the cops. I can't turn the lights on. People need to think about that. Okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it's just kind of wandering around trying to, in survival mode, basic survival mode.
Wow.
And if you don't think it's going to come, that's fine, but prepare anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I've been preparing for years, and the stuff I had to prepare with, I went through it, and I got some more. It's like you're prepared. And
Stay prepared.
You're not in fear, because that'll screw up your intuition. You can't be in fear. You have to be intuitive. You have to be tapped into God. And if you're not, then just a average stupid thing they do to us is going to take you down. So you have to be ready for something that's really critically, like you're talking about. The whole system goes down, or something. Yeah. Aliens invade, or we have simultaneously we have this new pandemic that's really whatever it is. You have to be ready for something like that, where you might have to be in your home for a period of time, and most people aren't ready for that at all.
No, they're not, and that's worrisome. That's why the more people that read my book, the more people that I mean, if you read my book, you might stop and think, "Well, this guy's crazy," but at the same time, I've planted seeds, and you're going to start noticing. Wait a minute, that's what he was talking about. I see it now. I see it, and then might tell somebody else, "Hey, that thing? That's not what you think it is." Right? I mean, that's sort of my hopes.
Yeah, and that was it. I think the last time we talked, I was on the Pacific Crest Trail, and I got an awakening on the Pacific Crest Trail after working in the military and the CIA for like 35 years, and that world collapsed for me, and I was like, I gotta get out in the wilderness. I walked the Pacific Crest Trail, and that totally awakened me. It was great. So you were also on the Pacific Crest Trail. You did that as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't done the whole thing, but I've gone from
Mexico.
I've gone from June Lake to Devil's Postpile to Edison Lake, and then I skipped, and I've done some up here, but it's not as nice as California. And then I've done that some way down south, and that was kind of the same thing, not as nice. I really like the California stretch.
That's a long
Devil's
stretch.
Postpile. Yeah, yeah. It's like we did I think the most we did was it's like a 19-day hike. From June Lake, and it seems like we got all the way to I think it's called Vermilion or something, but it's up there where Lake Edison is, above Fresno. So because when we came out, we got picked up in Clovis, California, which is where I grew up.
Nice.
Yeah,
Perfect.
big rancho.
Yeah, I ended up doing a mountain miles on it, but the money tree ran out for me, and I had to come back and start working. Bare bones. That's on a stretch of California mountainside is where they try to like heart attack me, and from that point on, I'm like, there was other very mysterious things that happened to me, like I saw like gray aliens that basically levitated me out of my tent and extracted I think probably a device out of me. There's all kind of great stuff happening to me. But, there's more to come for all of us. That sounds really crazy for me.
No, that's
everybody hearing stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah, doesn't sound crazy,
And that's why you're able to write this book, and that's why you're able to reveal on the level that you do. And everyone out there, you're like, well, I don't want to go through what Craig went through. Well, you might. It's very, very possibly you will, fortunately. So that's why we're trying to prepare you, because that's what they want, experience, and be fearful, and then they get control of you. So that's ultimately what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we didn't allow that. We didn't allow that. We went to the good side. That's fantastic. Well, we have big views on YouTube and over on X. Nice views. You're going to get a lot more views when you go over, with Nina. Well, obviously with other bigger groups. But you've already got well over 10% of your goal. I'm looking at it right now. So thanks to everybody that gave, and we'll continue to give. Keep helping, because we're at the forefront. We're helping you to understand what's coming, and not be in fear, and don't worry about what's coming. Don't worry, be happy. Always be happy, and love and so forth. And you're going to get through a lot of this.
As an engineer, I was known as a trailblazer, which meant that I would cut the path, figure out the technology, figure out the system, and then turn it over. And that's kind of the way I feel now. It's like we're trailblazers trying to cut a path from here to, I don't know, salvation, I guess. And that sounds too weird. We're trying to cut a path from here to safety, right? And it's up to everybody else to come behind us and widen that path into a highway.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what's happening. We're definitely having that. That's transpiring right now. So any last words before we sign off?
Nope. Just thank you for having me back. And if I disappear, you know what happened. Right?
Well,
I'm not suicidal. I'm right now. I'm just staying in my studio. I'm not even leaving for a while. Just stay right here. I can do everything I need to do from right here.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for having me.
This show tomorrow, that should be a big reveal, and hopefully they don't show up at your door like they did last time. So we're saying prayers for you. Everybody that is supporting, thank you. The prayers are amazing. It's gonna make a difference. We need a lot of prayers for Craig, so he's definitely blazing some trails for us. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. See you guys next time. Vibration. We'll see you guys next show. Fantastic.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR update compiled by Judy Byington. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum raided by Trump's global military alliance. Over 400 globalists forfeited corporate assets to Restored Republic Treasury. Their plans for enslavement of humanity are no more. Judy note. Early morning Thursday, July 9th, Trump's global military alliance took down the World Economic Forum in Geneva, Switzerland, and their plans for a total enslavement of humanity. Digital ID implementation, collapse of world domestic supply chain. Founder of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, was vanished, while over 400 high-ranking corporate executives and unelected globalist officials were handed unconditional surrender orders. They were given hours to sign the full forfeiture of the corporate assets to the Restored Republic Treasury or face immediate processing under military maritime law. At exactly 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, July 9th, Iran's Central Military Command declared the official reclosure of the Strait of Hormuz. The mass media claimed it was because of ceasefire violations, but the Hormuz bottleneck was deployed the exact moment the final encryption keys of the old financial framework, SWIFT, were permanently extracted, and the global currency reset took over. In early morning Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 9th, Trump's inner circle went completely dark. No leaks, no statements, no explanations. Meanwhile, the war room was fully operational with restricted files unlocked, classified transmissions active. This week, Trump's global military alliance has been escalating their mass arrests of pedophile Satan worshippers in over 200 nations. An elite cyber command unit acting under global antitrust military warrants forced entry into the primary database complex of Aladdin. Aladdin is the multi-trillion-dollar AI asset algorithm owned by BlackRock that dictated the prices of your food, your fuel, and your rent. The centralized engine that was programmed to artificially buy up entire family neighborhoods, weaponize corporate boards, and manipulate the global cost of living has been permanently defanged from the global core. The encrypted logs coming out of seized mainframe confirmed that over 3.8 million private residential titles and agricultural deeds systematically sucked into corporate shell accounts over the last decade have been frozen by the alliance. The ownership vectors are being systematically detached from the corporate registry to be returned to the sovereign population. At that exact same time, the AI pricing engine that engineered artificial economic scarcity is completely locked out, meaning the Matrix has officially lost its brain. On that same Thursday, July 9th, a joint military intelligence task force called the Alpine Command combined with European white hats to raid the subterranean World Economic Forum headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. They extracted from servers the final layout for a total biomechanical enslavement of humanity. Encrypted bank logs exposed a secret web of private wires routing over $82 billion from global black budgets directly into the private accounts of 12 prominent Western leaders. Evidently, by the end of this year, the WEF, with help from the 12 Western leaders, were planning to force digital ID implementation through a synchronized collapse of the world domestic supply chains. They also planned a global lockdown for this, but their codes had been overwritten by the new quantum system that has been actively controlling Cabal satellites. On Thursday, the Alpine Command immediately vanished Klaus Schwab, and over 400 high-ranking corporate executives and unelected globalist officials were given hours to sign a full forfeiture of their corporate assets to the Restored Republic Treasury or face immediate processing under military maritime law. Davos was falling Thursday night. Since Friday, May 1st, the new gold asset-backed quantum financial system has been 100% live across the globe. On June 18, 2026 at 3:14 a.m., the global command infrastructure for Starlink went fully operational across all 14 global sectors. The Israeli Mossad media assets, which have controlled 92% of Western information networks for 4 decades, lost their satellite uplink bypasses. The backdoor keys they used to manipulate every narrative, every election, and every market panic were permanently revoked. A controlled blackout across 10 major global hubs. transitioned the planet from the corrupt SWIFT servers to the quantum financial system. Now there would be a grounding of all transatlantic flights for a 24-hour verification window. No planes could move until the new ISO 20022 metal-backed currency protocols were verified at the 14 operational redemption centers. There were 34 deep state historic structures from the Vatican to Geneva and Wuhan were already isolated on the military grid with financing lines dead. The Bitcoin servers housing their offshore accounts were mapped and scheduled for permanent termination. At dawn Thursday, July 9th, the quantum financial system bypassed the central bank gatekeepers and mapped the ZIM historical assets onto the sovereign digital ledger. At exactly 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, July 9th, Iran's Central Military Command declared the official reclosure of the Strait of Hormuz. The closure of the strait happened at the exact moment the final encryption keys of the old financial framework were permanently extracted. Banks printing using fiat currency have been seized as troops enforced this global currency reset nationwide. Activation of the emergency broadcast system was imminent. EBS messages would be followed by 10 to 12 days of controlled blackouts and temporary martial law, all to shield civilians while truth flooded every TV, phone, radio, and computer screen across the world via the Starlink satellite system. When the EBS hits, you'll witness the fall of the media, banks, elite, and their demonic empire. Situation updates. Thursday, July 9th, Bind and Bombshell report global currency reset to gold asset-backed currencies of 209 nations in effect before its news. Thursday, July 9th, situation update, rumble.com, We the People News situation update, featuring Judy Byington's Restored Republic. Thursday, July 9th, what we thought we knew but didn't really know, now we're supposed to know but don't have a clue. Thursday, July 9th, move along, nothing to see here. Just the BBC reporting the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7, 20 minutes before it actually collapsed, while it was still standing in the background. Yeah, not suspicious at all. Thursday, July 9th, the corporate banking cartels are playing their final, most desperate card to delay the inevitable. Tier 4B ISO 20. While the public is distracted by artificial stock market fluctuations, the legacy central banks are running a coordinated, deep-level suppression campaign to hide the reality of the ZIM bonds. My high-level military intelligence sources are confirming that the old cabal handlers have spent the last 72 hours trying to lock down the gold-backed sovereign asset sheets in the European vaults. They are terrified because they know that the redemption of the historic ZIM bonds is the exact financial atomic bomb slavery matrix. For years, the corrupt Tier 1 institutions told you these bonds were worthless paper, while they secretly tried to reroute those exact asset codes into their own private offshore accounts. That game was permanently terminated at dawn. The quantum financial system has completely bypassed the central bank gatekeepers and has directly mapped the ZIM historical assets onto the sovereign digital ledger. The gold reserves backing these sovereign bonds have already been audited, verified, and locked into the back-end screens for the Tier 4B liquid distribution vaults. Look at the sudden unprecedented emergency meetings inside the Zurich and London clearinghouses right now. Their private digital tracking codes have been revoked by the Alliance. The old bankers cannot use these historic assets to fund their synthetic corporate loops anymore. The wealth has been entirely reclaimed for the global humanitarian projects. They wanted to keep the ZIM asset buried in the dark, knowing that the release of this staggering abundance would instantly disintegrate the artificial scarcity they manufactured for centuries. But the servers have been cleared, the validation codes are live, and the old masters have completely lost their leverage over the global baseline. The financial Iron Curtain has just been Thursday, July 9th, breaking. The Aladdin mainframe has just capsized. The invisible monopoly that owned your physical existence has just capsized in broad daylight. While the mainstream media networks are feeding the public ghost data and artificial market tickers, an elite cyber command unit acting under global antitrust military warrants forced entry into the primary database complex of Aladdin. Aladdin is the multi-trillion-dollar AI asset algorithm owned by BlackRock that dictated the prices of your food, your fuel, and your rent. This wasn't a standard corporate breach. It was a complete structural database seizure. The centralized engine that was programmed to artificially buy up entire family neighborhoods, weaponize corporate boards, and manipulate the global cost of living has been permanently defanged from the global core. The encrypted logs coming out of the seized mainframe confirmed that over 3.8 million private residential titles and agricultural deeds systematically sucked into corporate shell accounts over the last decade have been frozen by the alliance. The ownership vectors are being systematically detached from the corporate registry to be returned to the sovereign population. At the exact same time, the AI pricing engine that engineered artificial economic scarcity is completely locked out, meaning the matrix has officially lost its brain. They wanted a world where you would own nothing and be happy, while they collected the dividend checks on your survival. Instead, the alliance just took their master key, unlocked the global vault, and is preparing to wipe the synthetic debt bonds from your legal identity. The UK fell. France fractured. Canada is cleansed. Australia is secured. The Fed was severed. The Roman cash was breached. And today, the ultimate corporate landlord just lost the title deeds to the planet. The digital slavery loop is officially broken. The sovereign reset is now unstoppable. Thursday, July 9th, attention, the new valuation matrices are initializing. The transition from silent coordination into kinetic execution has just crossed the final threshold. While the legacy mainstream platforms are focused on engineered market volatility, the quantum financial system has officially taken over the baseline clearing operations for global currency pairs. The banks are not running routine maintenance upgrades anymore. They are being systematically integrated into a gold-backed digital ledger, where their access to personal wealth control is exactly zero. My high-level military intelligence sources have just updated the transition clock, and the next sequence activates without further warning. Here is the raw telemetry and the verified schedule for the Tier 4B Internet Group right now. The dinar revaluation mandate. The specific orders issued via the Alliance High Command and aligned with the Trump Phase 2 economic transition have been delivered to the central banking clearing rooms. The live treasury screens are displaying internal rate adjustments for the Iraqi dinar that reflect true resource-backed sovereignty. The old fiat distortion is over. The QFS operational window, the international banking networks have officially shifted to the ISO 20022 communication standard. The unbacked fiat monopolies print-on-demand era is finished. The asset-backed digital currencies stabilized directly by verified gold, silver, and platinum reserves are live on the back-end screens. The legacy SWIFT routes have been entirely bypassed. The Tier 4B release schedule. The notifications protocols are active. The safe links are locked into the quantum encryption relays, guarded under complete military civilian security frameworks. The baseline caps for the upcoming redemption slots are updating on the interface. Holdings without humanitarian documentation are locked at a designated standard baseline allocation. Holdings with finalized humanitarian structures are transitioning to a one-to-one asset backing on primary validation nodes. Prepare your multi-account diversification layouts immediately. Do not wait for the public broadcast to organize your infrastructure. The financial Iron Curtain has officially collapsed in broad daylight. The assets of the living sovereign citizens are being returned to their rightful place. Thursday, July 9th, Fed ultimate trap for American savers. The Fed is split 9-8. The Kevin Warsh minutes expose the ultimate trap for American savers. Stagflation lurks until the July 14th reckoning. What we think we know as of Friday, July 10th, 2026. Thursday, July 9th, the Trump Labor Department says Gavin Newsom owes $22 billion to the American taxpayer, and the bill must be paid. Gavin Newsom is $22 billion in debt to the UI Trust Fund, which means he owes over $22 billion to the American people because of money he borrowed into unemployment insurance. And quite frankly, that bill is eventually going to have to be paid. And right now, people who are holding the bag are business owners. July 9, 2026, the U.S. is considering seizing Kharg Island, which is the main seaport for Iran's oil exports. 30 million barrels of oil are stored there, and 90% of their oil exports come through there. We attacked Karg Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil because maybe we'll take over Karg Island. We may take over Karg Island, and there's not a thing they can do about it. The third Maricopa County 2020 election audit, performed by a source not brought in by the county, found millions of deleted files, confirmed internet access, bootable drives, voter data from other states, anonymous users logging into the EMS and running unknown scripts to alter the machines, confirm remote access from outside IP addresses, and election data results and logs wiped the day before the third audit. The Arizona 2020 election was stolen. The Schiff on Telegram.
Good morning. It's Friday. It's the 10th of July, 2026. What an amazing time to be alive. Trump posted 4 words on Truth Social yesterday. Interesting. The world's most powerful reset. Not the Great Reset, not the Klaus Schwab reset. The world's most powerful reset. Things are happening in plain sight. I told you 7 years ago, they're going to shut down the world's economy for a global financial reset. I didn't know how they were going to do it. I just knew that they were going to do it. It's happening. It's happening now. We get asked regularly, when's it going to happen, Charlie? Well, I'll tell you. When Trump posts something like that on True Social, it tells you we're very, very close. What day, what week, what month, I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't bother me because I know it's happening. When you know something's happening, you let go of when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? You just learn to be patient. When you learn to be patient and calm and peaceful because you know what's going to happen, life is so much easier. It's like when you watch the replay of a famous football match, or a soccer match as you call it in the States, that you know the score. You can really enjoy the game because you know you won. That's the position I'm in. I know we've won. We're just going through watching the movie play out. So just sit there with a smile on your face in the knowledge that it's done and stop getting so wound up about when's it going to happen? It's happening. It's happening in plain sight. Just enjoy it. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. President Trump has fired all Democratic members of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, leaving Democrats in shock.
Well, I'm sure they wanted to have a vote about that. I mean, this is the most corrupt board panel you could ever have. You know, there's been such levels of corruption. I think probably they've outstripped FIFA on the levels of corruption on that one. And all of these levels of corruption are being exposed. The light is exposing the darkness. And for people like you and I and Donald Trump and a handful of others, we've known for some time, let's say 10 or 20 years, that the elections have been rigged. You didn't need to be a rocket scientist to work that one out. Right now, we're seeing now, maybe it's long overdue, but we're now seeing it. All of these corrupt people are being removed, and they were removed in one go. So when people say, when's it going to happen? Well, it happened. They all went in one go. And my final story is just a little bit of fun, really, because as I said to you, give them bread and circuses and they won't revolt. You've got the World Cup. And today in England, you've got a young lad called Arthur Ferry, young lad from Wimbledon. Yes, he was born in France, but his parents are English. And he's representing England today at Wimbledon on centre court in the semi-final. And he came into the Wimbledon Championships as a wild card. This is all part of the circuses that's going on right now to distract you from what's really going on. And this is how it works. This is how the system works. When they're changing something, they change it while the World Cup's up. They change it while Wimbledon's on. Don't be distracted. I'll leave you with that thought. That was the news on Friday, the 10th of July, 2026. A big day for me as a family. Justin's competing in the national championships today. God bless him.
On June 18, 2026, exactly at 3:14 a.m. Eastern, the global command infrastructure for Starlink switched its core routing architecture. The old telemetry codes were completely wiped. The military-grade anti-cheat engine went fully operational across all 14 global sectors. The mainstream media didn't tell you why their digital feeds glitched for 40 seconds yesterday. They can't tell you because they are the target. The Israeli Mossad media assets, which have controlled 92% of Western information networks for 4 decades, just lost their satellite uplink bypasses. The backdoor keys they used to manipulate every narrative, every election, and every market panic have been permanently revoked. A synchronized communications blackout across 10 major global hubs. It will not be caused by a solar flare. It will not be a cyber attack from an enemy nation. It is controlled shutdown, a mandatory isolation window to transition the planet from the corrupt SWIFT servers to the quantum financial system. The grounding of all transatlantic flights for a 24-hour verification window. No planes move until the new ISO 20022 metal-backed currency protocols are verified at the 14 operational redemption centers. The activation of the Worldwide Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, every national military command center has already received the encrypted broadcast packages. They are not waiting for a political green light. They are waiting for the sirens. The fake World War III scenario they plan to enslave you is being turned against them. The cabal wanted a real nuclear conflict. Instead, they are getting a military-enforced liquidation of their assets. 34 historic structures, including the deep state control hubs from the Vatican to the physical infrastructure in Geneva and Wuhan, are already isolated on the military grid. Their financing lines are dead. The Bitcoin servers housing their offshore accounts are mapped and scheduled for permanent termination.
The alignment reset, the Hormuz lever. Active. The old SWIFT mainframe is corrupted. They thought the conflict in the Middle East was about lines on a map. They were blind. It's about the servers. At exactly 5:01 p.m. EST today, Iran's Central Military Command declared the official reclosure of the Strait of Hormuz. The corporate networks are screaming about ceasefire violations and regional escalations after the recent strikes in southern Lebanon. They are feeding you a script. Here is the explosive truth they are hiding under the fog of war. The closure of the strait is not a tactical retreat. It is a physical trigger mechanism. The Hormuz bottleneck was deployed the exact moment the final encryption keys of the old financial framework were permanently extracted. The integration has leaked, and the panic in the offshore banking hubs is absolute. The Epstein Black Ledger intercept. While you were watching the geopolitical news, a heavily decrypted archive containing the private correspondence and hidden offshore ledger entries of the Epstein estate was uplinked to a secure military server. This data didn't just name names, it mapped out the precise proxy accounts used to artificially suppress gold, silver, and global asset values for 30 years. The blackmail net has dropped. The quantum migration, QFS. The old fiat SWIFT system is being systematically choked off by the maritime blockade. Why? Because the transition to the ISO 2022 global standard is no longer a future project. The quantum financial system, QFS, has just completed its protocol integration. The old unbacked digital debt is being erased from the grid. Nisara Gazara threshold. The legal frameworks for the global wealth distribution ledger have crossed the Rubicon. Tier 4B notification sequences are moving through the secure offline military channels. The wealth stolen through fraudulent central banking mechanisms is being anchored back to tangible asset-backed commodities. They wanted you focused on a fake global war that the entire architecture of global control was being replaced underneath your feet. Look at the sudden, frantic weekend meetings between central bank governors. Look at the emergency liquidity transfers that are failing to register on the public ledgers. The physical blockades are just the cover story. The real collapse is happening inside the central banking mainframes. The old debt illusion has expired. The asset-backed transition is live.
Thursday, July 9th. You've seen how elections are rigged and stolen. The 2016 Democratic primary was stolen from Bernie Sanders by Hillary Clinton. The deep state then ran a coup against Donald Trump to steal the 2016 presidential election, using the mainstream media to push the fabricated Russia hoax that Hillary cooked up, Obama greenlit, and Brennan's CIA executed. Mail-in ballots and compromised election equipment, allowing the same propaganda and fraud tactics to result in a successful stolen election. We now know exactly how these operations work, that the machines are compromised, who the players are, the NGOs involved, and that our taxpayer dollars, we're funding all of it. The only thing left is to flush the rest of these traitors out and nail them to the wall. Thursday, July 9th, HARP and the weaponization of weather. Nature is no longer natural. Have you noticed how unprecedented weather events are now, happening every single month? Record-breaking floods, sudden droughts, and once-in-a-century storms that seem to target specific agricultural or political regions. This isn't just climate change. It is the result of HARP, High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and other ionospheric heaters located in Alaska, Norway, and Russia. They aren't just studying the atmosphere, they are steering it. By pulsing billions of watts of high-frequency radio waves into the ionosphere, they can create lenses in the sky that push the jet stream off its natural course. This allows the controllers to park a storm over a city for days, or redirect moisture from farmland to trigger an artificial famine. Weather is the ultimate weapon because it provides plausible deniability. You can destroy a nation's economy without firing a single bullet, and the public will simply blame Mother Nature. The chemtrails, stratospheric aerosol injection, you see, are the necessary partner to HARP. By spraying metallic particles like aluminum and barium into the sky, they turn the atmosphere into a highly conductive plasma. This allows the HARP frequencies to travel further and with more precision. They are literally turning the sky into a giant circuit board. While you are told these trails are to reflect sunlight, to save the planet, they are actually being used to facilitate global electronic warfare. The Alliance is currently working to disable these ground-based heating arrays. This is why you see sudden maintenance, closures of these facilities, and reports of unusual aurora borealis in places where they shouldn't exist. It's the result of the system being overloaded or sabotaged. The battle for the planet is being fought in the clouds. The Great Reset requires a controlled environment, but the Earth is fighting back, and the truth is leaking through the man-made clouds. Code, HARP warfare, ionospheric heater, jet stream steering, plasma sky. They told you to watch the forecast. We're telling you to watch the controllers. The rain isn't always just water. They want to play God with the elements. But the real storm is the one they can't control, the storm of awakening.
Good. So, bigger picture, and you've kind of alluded to it a little bit. You haven't gone there yet, but I'll help you.
Sure.
Is the deep state, and I've known this for a long time. We saw a possible nuclear attack on Hawaii several years ago, and there was evidence that came out later that they were really going to shoot a missile from a submarine that they had, the deep state, that is. And they were going to blame it on North Korea because everybody was saying, all the press was like, North Korea is going to nuke us. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. I've been to Korea. That's not going to happen. And so then that situation happened. The people of Hawaii went through some serious trauma because they were told that a nuclear event was about to happen. And, get under their table or whatever, like we used to hear when we were in preschool, in school, as little kids, they traumatized us.
Yeah, our daughter was there when it happened.
Wow.
So yeah, no, this was not cool, not cool. Yeah. And that system exists and it should terrify everyone that this shadow government criminal syndicate, because people are scared, they're the ones actually helping harm the system. They're actually giving them the runway to keep going in the wrong direction and to be able to threaten the good guys trying to clean up government, which is the majority. So we don't cower to bullies. And now I was really shocked in Nino's talk when he said, yeah, I was told that China's got a nuke, a suitcase nuke, and going to use it. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's been told. Who told him? Just like, who told everybody Maria Zack was wrong? Maria Zack didn't know. Maria wasn't aware. Maria was well aware. And now I'm like, they already got to Nino. They got to the CEO of Epoch Times. She came out on stage at a St. Petersburg event I was at maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And she said that they had gotten word that of this potential attack by China. And I was like, I already knew this was coming, guys. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
well,
terrifying.
many of us have been talking about how there's planes have been going up for the last 5 years or so, looking for nuke sniffers all over America, and that's not normal, right? So very, very good people that are monitoring this are putting out constantly. When I was in the SEALs and the CIA, I was in the SEALs at the very top at SEAL Team 6, and then I was at CIA at the very top, working with people. We all were always looking for nukes, because we knew there were nukes out there. So who had them? Some random people had them? No, it was the deep state. And these people that are, helping and protecting the deep state, like Michael Flynn and others, Mike Pompeo, we could just go down the list, but they're helping protect them. And there's a serious threat, like you talked on Nino's show. They have said that if you come out with election fraud, we're going to nuke half the United States.
That is what I'm hearing, and I'm frustrated because we have to keep moving forward. And President Trump needs to understand, you don't cower to them; they're going to kill us anyway. So now's the time. Move hard and fast. Pull the machines. Hand count. We all can count. This is not a hard task. We can get a bunch of third graders and still get the count right. And so I think we're at that point where everyone should be manning up and telling the president it's go time. We're not putting up with this criminal syndicate. And, when you say deep state, I always think it's the people inside. When I hear deep state, I define it as the people who are the government employees who are doing this. But the criminal syndicate are the billion and trillionaires above that are pulling everyone's string. So the criminal syndicate leadership has these puppets of the deep state actors, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of view it, because honestly, I didn't know any of this and I had to learn as I went. So the thing that also troubled me, the infrastructure when, and Mike Flynn didn't know this, but a very dear friend of mine went into the Flynn campaign. So while he was diverting all the money to himself and Sidney Powell, they were moving and building a state by state presidential campaign. And I called my buddy, I said, so Mark's running a presidential campaign for Flynn. What party is Flynn? He goes, Democrat. And I go, so you guys are Republican helping Mike Flynn run for president. At the same time, Mike, I was getting the death threats against President Trump, having to warn the family. I was not prepared for this, but God gives you nothing. You can handle whatever you're given. And so I was a lunatic calling the family going, we got another threat. And so I got calmer over the years. In the beginning, it was a little tough because I've never done anything like this. And I was afraid if something happened to him, it'd be my fault. And the weight of the world was on my shoulders. At the same time, Flynn's running and preparing to actually make sure he becomes president and Trump doesn't. And the whole Butler shooting, think about this. Has anyone ever said to you, okay, Joe Biden suddenly has an event at the same time, pulls the Secret Service off. No mistake.
Big
And
reveal. Wow.
well,
Unbelievable.
let me take it a step further. I was given tail numbers of an airplane and told that it was actually an active duty military Italian who shot him, who was there.
Hmm.
2 planes were there, those tail numbers, and they're out of Delaware.
Wow. Delaware, of course.
Yeah, you
Wow.
can't track. Yeah, or I couldn't track them. I'm sure someone else could. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm breaking lots of today.
Italians again. Now, Italians are really some serious culprits. I follow these guys that are with this one gentleman, Mr. Slovak, or Slav is a Russian guy that grew up in Donbass and went to the United States, became a military officer, and went back, and now he's reporting in Russia. There was a girls' school that was shot by drones. Drones crashed into it, killed 18 girls and 3 boys. And the drones were Italian made.
Leonardo's?
Probably. I might have this guy on to ask him these questions, and because the Russians are very smart about all this stuff. Putin said that we're ending the vampires. So we're ending the vampires. So President Trump has talked to him several times, and he's withdrawn aid to Ukraine and all kind of interesting things. He was just at NATO, and he's like, well, I'll back you guys if you give me Greenland.
He's something, and Italy's still trying to push more money to NATO to help Ukraine. And some must ask, who does Giorgia Meloni answer to? Because it's not the people of Italy. And I'm disgraced for my my dad came, his parents came from Italy and immigrated many hundreds of plus years ago. And so it's just terrifying that your bartender can suddenly be made to be a president. She was the AOC of Italy as a Republican. Yeah, and you know what's funny? A lot of people.
Why do they pick bartenders? Are they because they're like easily manipulable, or what? What is it?
Well, you get people without morals who love drinking and partying, and you can control them very easy. And that's typical even in state capitals. You get people who have a background that's not godly, and they don't have morals, values, or principles, and you own them instantly. They sell out so cheap. Like, you can give them a trip to California and Disney World, and they'll do whatever voting you want, whatever bill you want dropped. It's amazing what I've seen in my lifetime. It's so despicable that the degradation of values has really taken its toll, and certainly in the younger generation. And you had AOC, but you also had Zelensky had a counterpart, and that was George Santos. So, you get a gay burlesque show guy, and you can make him president in Ukraine, and you can put him in Congress in New York. Yeah. And so it's the same.
You look at Zelensky, he was like dancing around in leather pants with men with high heels on. Like, what? now he's the president. He's all making all these decisions that millions of Ukrainians are dying on the Russian front. So it is. It's frustrating that we're at one point we supported all that, with hundreds of billions of dollars from the Biden administration. So we've seen the Iran conflict escalate over the last couple of days. Iran started shooting at ships in the Hormuz Strait. As I predicted, we would go back and we would start to bomb them again eventually. And at some point, the Marines would land probably on Karg Island, which I believe is coming fairly soon. And we would seize their oil. And President Trump has also stopped their ability to have oil revenue again. So I think this is something that is going to be very valuable going forward, as far as like taking down this regime once and for all. I predicted, it would go down, and we would have Pahlavi, the former Shah's son, take over. I still believe that's coming. It's going to take a little bit more time, but we're rapidly moving in that direction. I think it's everything's going at this. Everything's going at them. It's going to be massive. The strikes and everything that's going to happen over the next several days, weeks, and so forth. So let's look at a little bit of this and see what other people are reporting. It's one of the things that I've been waiting for. I believe that this was going to happen, and here we are. We're at the doorstep of a complete change in the Middle East, and that will start to happen throughout the rest of the world. Now, the deep state obviously does not want this. They've been fighting President Trump and America for a long time. I did a show today with Peter Tickton, who for 65 years has been a friend of President Trump. He's an attorney. He helped free Tina Peters, and he's working on First Amendment cases. And God, this guy, I wish he could be the Attorney General, but he is not political. His mouth is not political, right? He says what we all think, and he says it out loud. Now, he has some very, very deep insights and connections, evidently, that are telling him some stuff. And I highly, highly recommend you watch that show that I did with him earlier today. The man is absolutely amazing. He's keeping President Trump informed. He's one of his allies, I'm sure, as far as getting information to him. So they have a really good relationship, and he's talking on my show that the next several months, all the way up to the election, 3-4 months, are going to be very, very like we've been talking about, are going to be very eventful, right? He was talking about rioting and so forth. They're going to try and do the rioting to stop the election or change the election, kind of like what they did with the last 2020 election.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via a GCR update compiled by Judy Byington. The time has come. On Tuesday, the old fiat currency SWIFT system died as the privately owned Federal Reserve was neutralized and the gold asset-backed global currency reset went into effect. And a quote from Angela Schwint: "While we try to teach our children all about life, our children teach us what life is all about." Judy, note: the White House has signaled that the time has come. July 7th at exactly 14:10 Eastern Standard Time, the physical communication lines connecting the Vatican Bank to the legacy SWIFT network were permanently severed by the Alliance Financial Task Force. On that same Tuesday, July 7th at exactly 15:44 EST, a joint task force of Alliance White Hats permanently overrode the primary server matrix of the old NORAD tracking grid. The legacy deep state operators officially lost their administrative clearance codes, and the entire orbital surveillance migrated onto the secure quantum Starlink system. At exactly 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on that Tuesday, July 7th, the operational authority of the Federal Reserve System was permanently neutralized by an alliance-backed financial task force. The old banking cartels officially lost their primary encryption keys, and the operational timeline for the next 72 hours has been locked into the live network. Sometime in the next 2 days, a blackout and lockdown will become global in all countries of the world. As we edge closer to Friday the 24th and Saturday the 25th of July, 2026, the Earth Alliance, in conjunction with Starlink and other military satellites, will unleash the emergency broadcast system. Every cell phone on Earth will be hit with a loud alert signal transmitted directly from Starlink, bypassing traditional media, which is controlled by the elites. The media will have no say, no control. The blackout and lockdown will last for 10 to 12 days, when everyone will be asked to stay at home during a specific 5-hour window. You will see the global military alliance on the streets making arrests of corrupt pedophiles. The corruption was coming to an end. The old world would end with a broadcast. The new world would begin as you explain to those around you what has been going on. Right now, Trump's global military alliance was in the middle of the greatest sting operation the world has ever known as they took down the Satan-worshipping. November 2020, President Trump instigated the Insurrection Act and turned over control of the country to the U.S. military. An interim military U.S. government has been running our country ever since. The two U.S. governments, number one, a legitimate interim military U.S. government empowered by the Constitution and the Department of Defense under Military Code 11.3, and two, an illegal, fraudulent, foreign, paid-for, foreign-controlled, on the foreign ground of the District of Columbia, Biden administration. On December 20th, 2020, President Trump was informed of tunnels buried 2 miles beneath Capitol Hill. Convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his sidekick Maxwell had given up maps of the global tunnel system, a major income producer for the cabal Illuminati. Since right before Biden's 20th of January 2021 presidential inauguration and to today, Capitol Hill has been surrounded with 8-foot-high barbed wire fencing guarded with from the inside by 30,000 National Guard troops, some of whom had been authorized to make arrests. And there's a link to communist troops around a U.S. under martial law inauguration, not live on TV. On January 24th and 25th, 2021, so-called President Biden, 355 congressmen and 109 senators were said to have been arrested for a total of 465 elected, some retired officials who would soon face military tribunals, most of their charges surrounding pedophilia. In March 2020, an international military force repatriated to the U.S. Treasury and other nations 650 plane loads of gold and cash from the Vatican, according to Charlie Ward, Ph.D., whose team secured the gold and valuables. The military also arrested 13 demon bloodline families, mafia heads, the Pope, and 350 personnel in the Vatican. When they cleared out the Vatican of cash, gold, and valuables in 650 plane loads and flew it to Fort Knox and other U.S. Treasury locations. Ward continued, and there's the link to that. By Saturday, April 17, 2020, the military RV security teams and quantum financial system tech personnel had revamped the London financial and forex system. On Sunday, April 18, 2020, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin markets crashed. Bitcoin was headquartered and run by the Vatican under the Chinese Communist Party's Three Gorges Dam. On Monday, April 19, 2020, scores of U.S. Treasury employees serving the cabal were arrested. As many as 100 and likely more were caught red-handed in a scheme to fund the next CV-19 stimulus, stop the global currency reset, and keep on printing fiat dollars. Since Monday, April 19, 2020, market opening, all international markets, including the U.S. stock market and dollar index, were in the red and imploding, although at times the figures snuck up to green. As of Wednesday, April 21st, 2021, the Illuminati cabal-owned Fed, IRS, and World Bank have been deprived of accessing their passcodes, could not transfer funds through their online system, and thus were considered broke. The Federal Reserve, IRS, and World Bank have been locked out of their accounts with the passwords changed. They can no longer transfer monies. Despite a Trump executive order that made it unlawful for any more printing of the fiat U.S. dollar, the Biden administration continued the practice at the defunct Federal Reserve Bank. Just a few days ago, the U.S. interim military government took charge and arrested over 100 members.
Judy note. For the past 12 years in my daily update, Restored Republic via a GCR have tried to keep the public posted on the latest news regarding the global currency reset and formation of the Restored Republic under concepts of the original Constitution. The GCR and Restored Republic have now arrived. You should see it unfold this coming week. With the upcoming 10 days of darkness and takeover of the fake news, media by the military to publish real news. Soon my update will no longer be needed. I will continue to write the Restored Republic via a GCR update until then. Afterwards, I will be writing articles and publishing books, the subject of which will surround a mission, and that is so rampant in our society. See home. Judy Byington, because of hackers and other problems, I have been facing considerable challenges in getting my daily update out. Now it appeared that those problems have been worked out. I thank all the encouragement and support received from editors and readers, especially Medea of American Media Group, Patrick of Dinar Chronicles, my angel Marty of Rumor Mills.
What we thought we knew but didn't really know, and now we're supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made up movies, Hollywood style, and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. On September 11, 2001, 2 planes hit 2 buildings and 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed, and with it, some of the most high profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA, Mossad, ISIS. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods. CIA, Mossad, ISIS is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish, control, starve you via Great Reset, New World Order. JFK Jr.
Possible timing. Fry. 3 July 2026. GESARA NESARA protocols broadcast. All mortgages, credit cards, and student loans linked to usury were frozen for liquidation. SAT. 4 July 2026. Behind closed doors, the new quantum financial system has been infiltrating the cabal's old SWIFT fiat currency infrastructure. Account freezes were real, and the military has been positioned for final transition. Also on 4 July 2026, at 11:12 UTC, with the military tribunals begun, quantum financial keys overrode the legacy mainframe of the Vatican Bank, and the assets of the corrupt were seized and redistributed to the Humanity Reclamation Fund. Every citizen would soon be allocated a secure digital vault backed by physical gold. On Sun. 5 July at 06:13 a.m. EST Operation Mass Arrest 705 began. 847 federal judges, 456 CIA officials, 234 senators, congressmen, and 678 FBI officials arrested. Global liquidity release. On twos. 7 July at exactly 14:10 EST, the physical communication lines connecting the Vatican Bank to the legacy SWIFT network were permanently severed by the Alliance Financial Task Force. A worldwide debt jubilee and RV of currencies to gold asset-backed activated. Law enforcement shifts to natural law protections under concepts of the original Constitution. The revaluation, RV of 209 countries' currencies to be gold asset-backed comes fully alive. Debt jubilee activation begins for those whose accounts have been cleared. At exactly 06:00 EST on twos. 7 July 2026, the operational authority of the Federal Reserve System was permanently neutralized by an alliance-backed financial task force. The old banking cartels officially lost their primary encryption keys, and the operational timeline for the next 72 hours has been locked into the live network. On twos. 7 July at exactly 15:44 EST, a joint task force of Alliance white hats permanently overrode the primary server matrix of the old NORAD tracking grid. The legacy deep state operators officially lost their administrative clearance codes, and the entire orbital surveillance migrated onto the secure quantum Starlink system. On 8 July, the SWIFT routing hubs in Brussels and London are scheduled for an irreversible protocol disconnect. The central banks will likely report this as a major regional internet blackout or a transatlantic fiber optic breakdown. The reality is a hard quantum override. Any institution failing to meet the gold-backed ISO 20022 standard will have its liquidity clearance certificates revoked by midnight. On Thursday, 9 July, the core databases managing private consumer liabilities are being systematically decoupled from public identities. The ledger files for millions of mortgages, auto loans, and high-interest credit lines engineered through fractional reserve fraud are transitioning to a zero-balance state. The corporate banks are losing their administrative authority codes, leaving them legally unable to enforce foreclosures or collections. Global celebration protocols enabled. Local communities organize freedom assemblies to distribute the first wave of restoration funds. On Fry. 10 July, the distribution nodes for Tier 4B liquidity are officially entering active status under the global enforcement of NESARA/GESARA. The sovereign assets and gold reserves reclaimed from the legacy trusts are bypassing the commercial banking grid entirely, routing directly into the wealth pipelines of the sovereign citizens. Twos. 14 July 2026. The transition begins. Your bank account won't disappear. Your money won't vanish. But the system that enslaved you will be dead. The Federal Reserve, finished. The IRS, finished. The old financial order. Finished. Pay close attention to the sudden, unannounced early branch closures of major financial institutions in your city over the next 48 hours. They cannot print paper debt to balance their sheets anymore, and their private transit routes are being monitored. Global currency reset on 7 July at exactly 14:10 EST. The physical communication lines connecting the Vatican Bank to the legacy SWIFT network were permanently severed by the Alliance Financial Task Force. On 7 July at exactly 15:44 EST, a joint task force of Alliance white hats permanently overrode the primary server matrix of the old NORAD tracking grid. The legacy deep state operators officially lost their administrative clearance codes, and the entire orbital surveillance migrated onto the secure quantum Starlink system. At exactly 06:00 EST on 7 July 2026, the operational authority of the Federal Reserve System was permanently neutralized by an alliance-backed financial task force. The old banking cartels officially lost their primary encryption keys, and the operational timeline for the next 72 hours has been locked into the live network. Sometime in the next 2 days, a blackout and lockdown will become global in all countries of the world, as we edge closer to Fry. 24 and SAT. 25 July 2026, the Earth Alliance in conjunction with Starlink and other military satellites will unleash the Emergency Broadcast System, EBS. Any day now, the cabal's central banks around the world were anticipating a fiat US dollar collapse. This was necessary for the introduction of the new gold asset-backed currency on the quantum financial system, QFS. 8 July 2026 Marxy. The bond people claim they're absolutely receiving 1% of their payout on Fry. 10 July 2026. A source said it is rolling out east to west, and Asia has already begun. 8 July Wolverine chat. Looks like things are moving 100%. Received news that things have officially started for the bonds. I hear that 4B should be released anytime this week. Amiel Alston. It's midnight here in South Africa. I just want to confirm that the overall picture is looking extremely positive and also moving very quickly. And this is happening worldwide. So, as you rightfully pointed out, many people are now liquid, many people are paid. We won't know exactly who that is because of the NDAs. But I can confidently say to everyone, all the groups except Tier 5 are moving according to sources that I have. So Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, even in South Africa and in some nations in Africa, are moving forward. Remember, China is spearheading the implementation of JASARA and the QFS in Africa, together with Russia and India. 7 July 2026 Bruce. The Big Call Universe, IBIZ. Com. 667-770-1866, access code 123,456 hash. A good source said if Tier 4B doesn't get notification by Thursday, 9 July, then it will happen by the weekend. Another source said that if everything went as planned over the weekend, then Tier 4B would be in exchanges the early part of next week.
Judy note, no one knows the exact date for notification of appointments for Tier 4B, US, the Internet Group, to exchange foreign currencies, but deadlines shown in the above timing indicate it to be very soon. We have been told that Wells Fargo, which is controlled by the Chinese elders, the ones who own the gold behind the global currency reset, will send out emails to currency and bondholders worldwide, telling them how to set redemption and exchange appointments. It is advised to redeem your foreign currency at an official redemption center, RC, rather than a bank. You can only redeem ZIM at an RC. The dinar contract rate can only be given at an RC, and banks will offer you lower exchange rates than what you can obtain at an RC. You can only set up your new wallet, bank account at an RC. It was my understanding that most banks were under control of the cabal and would soon play a different role in the global financial system.
Wednesday, July 8th, the Vatican mainframe has just experienced a terminal hard reset. Do not look away. The absolute lockdown of the Roman financial sector today has nothing to do with standard European banking updates. While the mainstream channels are instructing the public to focus on the sudden, unannounced suspension of administrative operations across Italian central clearing houses, the true fracture is occurring within the deepest vault networks of the old empire. The corporate press is already coordinating a narrative to explain a massive imminent satellite broadcast interruption across southern Europe. But the live back-end logs reveal a surgical tactical reality. At exactly 1410 EST, the physical communication lines connecting the Institute for the Works of Religion, the Vatican Bank, to the legacy SWIFT network were permanently severed by the Alliance Financial Task Force. The elite asset managers have lost their primary decryption privileges, and the operational trajectory for the next 72 hours is now completely locked into the quantum financial system. Here is the unedited technical breakdown of the upcoming timeline. The Rome detachment, the secret ledger networks that have historically routed trillions in unbacked global wealth through private offshore entities, are offline. Alliance tech teams have successfully bypassed the central security perimeter under the Vatican, securing the core data logs detailing the fraudulent debt bonds used to control sovereign nations for centuries. The Tesla grid alignment. The outdated corporate tracking grids are running on emergency reserve cells. The old power lines are calibrated to enter a brief, controlled system reset as the global financial infrastructure undergoes a mandatory migration onto the secure Tesla asset-backed network. The unbacked speculative currencies used to manipulate the markets are being neutralized in real time. The 10-country broadcast sequence, the ultimate operational phase, is standing by. 10 sovereign military divisions have finalized the synchronization of the emergency broadcast system via the secure quantum Starlink network. The second the legacy narrative channels lose their transmission capability, the screens will be populated with unsealed tribunal transcripts and the definitive truths that have been buried in the dark vaults for generations. Pay immediate attention to the sudden silent evacuation of corporate boardrooms and the unusual grounding of private administrative aircraft across the Mediterranean sectors tonight. Their tracking permissions have been revoked, and their ability to regenerate synthetic liquidity is completely dead. The old world masters wanted you to believe their financial iron curtain was indestructible, but the back end has been permanently rerouted. The validation metrics are active, and the entire control matrix has officially run out of broadcast range. The grid is transitioning. The restoration is absolute. Tuesday, July 7th. The emergency United Nations session currently flash flooding your news feeds has nothing to do with international diplomacy. While the network anchors are instructing you to watch the sudden movement of political delegates and high-level security details across Washington and New York, the actual transition is taking place underneath the digital financial pipeline. The corporate media is prepackaging a narrative to explain away a massive imminent system interruption, but the raw data logs paint an entirely different picture. At exactly 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, the operational authority of the Federal Reserve System was permanently neutralized by an alliance-backed financial task force. The old banking cartels have officially lost their primary encryption keys, and the operational timeline for the next 72 hours has been locked into the live network. Here is the unedited technical trajectory of what hits our reality this week. Wednesday, July 8th, the SWIFT routing hubs in Brussels and London are scheduled for an irreversible protocol disconnect. The central banks will likely report this is as a major regional internet blackout or a transatlantic fiber optic breakdown. The reality is a hard quantum override. Any institution failing to meet the gold-backed ISO 20022 standard will have its liquidity clearance certificates revoked by midnight. Thursday, July 9th, the core databases managing private consumer liabilities are being systematically decoupled from public identities. The ledger files for millions of mortgages, auto loans, and high-interest credit lines engineered through fractional reserve fraud are transitioning to a zero-balance state. The corporate banks are losing their administrative authority codes, leaving them legally unable to enforce foreclosures or collections. Friday, July 10th, the distribution nodes for Tier 4B liquidity are officially entering active status under the global enforcement of Nisara Jasara. The sovereign assets and gold reserves reclaimed from the legacy trusts are bypassing the commercial banking grid entirely, routing directly into the wealth pipelines of the sovereign citizens. Pay close attention to the sudden, unannounced early branch closures of major financial institutions in your city over the next 48 hours. They cannot print paper debt to balance their sheets anymore, and their private transit routes are being monitored in real time. The old establishment wanted you to believe their financial matrix was permanent, but the switch has been flipped. From the inside, the validation metrics are clean, and the entire debt collection apparatus has officially run out of time. The network is clean, the restoration is irreversible. Mass arrests on Sunday, July 5th at 6:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Operation Mass Arrest 0705 began, according to Pentagon sources. Deep state operatives were detained, 847 federal judges arrested for treason, corruption, and crimes against humanity, 456 CIA officials indicted for assassinations, drug trafficking and mind control, 234 senators and congressmen arrested for treason, bribery, and election fraud, plus 678 FBI officials arrested for obstruction, cover-ups, and corruption. A large-scale purge of military and intelligence personnel was already underway. According to an official U.S. military report, it claims that 847 military officers, 234 Pentagon officials, 456 intelligence personnel, and 678 military contractors have been removed or detained as part of what supporters describe as an effort to eliminate corruption and restructure the defense.
The Pentagon is being cleansed right now. The greatest military purge in U.S. history has begun. A blackout order hit 3 specific sectors of the Pentagon. Communications severed. Security locked down. The media was told it was a routine server upgrade. That was a lie. Contacts inside the Joint Chiefs of Staff confirm what actually happened was Operation Military Reformation 0701. The systematic extraction of compromised high-ranking officers who sold America's military secrets. The betrayal they hid from you. For 14 months, Trump's loyalists within military intelligence quietly tracked a network of 23 generals and admirals. These weren't just bad leaders. These were TRAITORS. They ran a shadow operation out of Fort Bragg. 847 million euros in untraceable crypto routed through shell companies, classified nuclear submarine schematics, sold to Beijing coordinates of underground bunkers, shared with Moscow. They thought they were untouchable. They thought Trump would never find out. They were catastrophically wrong. The extraction protocol. At exactly 03:47 a.m., military police, operating under direct orders from white hat commanders loyal to Trump, moved in. No FBI, a purely military operation. 14 four-star generals detained and relocated to secure facilities, 9 admirals stripped of command. Placed under tribunal hold 47 terabytes of encrypted communications, seized the classified timeline Phase 1. Evidence gathering. Completed May 2026 Phase 2. Extraction and detention left arrow we're here. July 24, 2026, Phase 3, Military TRIBUNALS, July 15-30, 2026, Phase 4. Public declassification, August 2026. The panic in D.C. The deep state is in full meltdown. Politicians are trying to book private flights to countries without extradition treaties. Why? Because those 23 arrested military leaders, they are singing. They are giving up the senators who authorized the treason. They are giving up the defense contractors who paid the bribes. The entire corrupt military-industrial complex is collapsing in real time. Trump's MASDRSDROKE Trump knew. He let them build the network so he could capture the entire web. The military is being handed back to the patriots. The greatest cleanup operation in the history of the Republic is happening right now. The media won't report this until Phase 4. They are terrified. Watch the sudden RETIRMENTS of high-ranking OFFICRS over the next 72 hours. Their goal has always been a one-world government, where the masses are tracked, chipped, and kept in a state of perpetual low-vibration survival. They use the strategy of order out of chaos, ordo ob chaos, to manufacture wars, P at ND asterisk mics, and economic crises that lead the public to beg for the solutions the elite have already prepared. The wealth of these families is not measured in billions, but in the trillions of dollars they have siphoned from humanity through the private central banking system. They own the printing press of the world's currency, allowing them to fund both sides of every conflict and buy the silence of the media. This is the deep state, a multi-generational criminal syndicate that has operated in the shadows, hiding the truth of human history and the existence of advanced technology that would make their control impossible. For thousands of years, they have used divide and conquer to keep humanity fighting over race, religion, and politics. While we fight each other, they consolidate their power. They feed on the energy of fear and conflict, which is why the world's news is designed to keep you in a state of constant anxiety. But the Alliance, a global military operation involving high-ranking patriots and positive intelligence agencies, has been systematically dismantling this structure. This is the greatest war in human history, and it is being fought in the shadows, in the DUMBS, and through the financial markets. The arrests and retirements of CEOs and politicians you see today are the removal of the middle management of this cabal. The head of the snake is being cut off. The disclosure is not just about extraterrestrials. It is about the truth of who has been running this world and the crimes they have committed against humanity. Once the financial system is decentralized and the hidden technologies, their power evaporates instantly. We are moving from a pyramid structure of control to a circle structure of sovereignty. The era of the secret government is coming to an end. Their symbols are being exposed, their rituals are being stopped, and their frequency is being neutralized by the rising consciousness of the planet. They told you that you were a consumer or a subject. They forgot that you are a sovereign creator with a connection to the divine that they can never break. The throne is empty, and the masters are in hiding. It is time for humanity to take back the keys to the kingdom. They built a cage for your mind, but they forgot you are the power source. The light is on, and the shadows have nowhere to hide. The families that ruled in secret are being exposed in the light.
What we think we know as of Thursday, July 9, 2026. Wednesday, July 8th, Trump shatters British imperial system. Trump shatters the British imperial system. The Fed Europe locked out of negotiations as Trump demolishes the century-old chains of perpetual war and financial looting. Wednesday, July 8th, Trump NATO nuclear bombshell. NATO nuclear bombshell. Trump stuns the world, cuts off all trade with Spain, and rips hostile socialist regime for abandoning America. Wednesday, July 8th, the Khazars were a semi-nomadic Turkic people that in the late 5th century had established a major commercial empire covering the southeastern section of modern European Russia, southern Ukraine, Crimea, Jordan, and Kazakhstan. They were nicknamed the Name Stealers by neighboring countries that grew tired of their criminal behavior as well as for their perpetuity for kidnappings, thievery, and road banditry, and often known as the Khazarian Mafia today. Khazaria was formed as a kingdom ruled by an evil king named Bulan, whose court included people trained in the occult mysteries and black magic sciences of Babylon. Of course they were. Greece and Rome. In 740 AD, Kievan Rus, Russia, and other neighboring countries, such as Persia, Iran, gave the Khazarian king Bulan an ultimatum that they must adopt one of the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. They adopted Judaism but continued to practice occult black magic rituals and pedophilia in order to worship and gain favors from Baal and Moloch, among other dark deities.
County, Pennsylvania. It promises to be a brutal one with all the bullshit going on in the school boards, raising taxes, crushing everybody across the country. Well, my hometown school district's in the crosshairs, and that's going to be the event this weekend, I'm sure we're going to stumble into that subject because my two counterparts here, as you know very well, the Three Amigos Roundtable, our fan favorite. We've got a lot to talk about, catch up with Nino and Mike on exactly what's happening out there in the battlefield. It's emerging fast. A lot of stuff's going to be happening in the next 4 months. So, guys, we got Nino Rodriguez, former heavyweight boxer, Mike Jaco, 24-year Navy SEAL, 10-year CIA operator, new battlefield, different mission, going after the people that used to command him to do the things that he did, because we found out they're all criminals. Anyways, guys, good to have you here today. I'll hand it off to you guys. What's the big story? What's the big news of the day in this battle? And what do the next 4 months look like from what you guys are hearing?
You want to go for it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. President Trump's plane, had to switch planes, Air Force One. It looks like maybe the one he got from Qatar is compromised now. I don't think it was built in Qatar. I think it was built in the Boeing, aircraft manufacturing plant. There's been some suspect stuff that's been going on there. People talking about how people are coming in all drugged up, even though they go through, testing, and they're qualified to be able to come in there. They're gonna have to tighten everything up because it sounds like this plane's been compromised somehow. And you would think that they were going through that thing with a good, like a good comb, and just like microscope the whole thing, and it's like and they probably did. But the building process, you're going to have to make sure going forward, especially something like this, that you're in control of the whole thing. I remember many years ago, many decades ago, in Moscow, when the Soviet Union, the communists, were running the show there. We built a new embassy, and dumbasses, allowed the local Russians to come in and build it. And of course, it was bugged like crazy. It had to tear the whole thing down, bring in materials from the United States and builders from the United States to build one. But this is some of the things that we should know by now, right? So this being compromised like this is highly suspect. I think it's after the fact, right? So we know that President Trump he's targeted. The deep state is on the ropes. Now, a lot of people have said that the deep state, it's a done deal. It's not a done deal, guys. They're going to keep playing this game until they're completely gone, and that's going to take a long time, right, to dig these guys out of the woodwork. So just like for example, President Trump's plane, maybe it was perfectly cleared, and then it was bugged later on with something. We don't know exactly what happened, and they're probably not going to let us know, because once you tell the enemy that you're onto them and how you discovered them, then they're going to figure out a way to work around that and do something different. So that's why you're not going to hear stuff on this, guys. It's the way this works. Tyler Robinson, I mean, we could go off on a lot of different things. That guy is a patsy, if I've ever seen a patsy. And was Charlie Kirk shot? I still don't believe so. I know there's very skilled people. I know you just had John Carmine on. I was watching that show just before this. I totally respect him. If we were in a room together, we could probably come to some conclusions. This is the way, like we're doing this roundtable, we kick stuff around and we come up with some really good insight. So, we're having a lot of stuff. If I was there, I would tell you how, if I was in charge of Charlie Kirk's detail, which it looks like there was a lot of guys like me in his detail, former military, probably very high up. They all moved with a purpose, and they started tearing everything down. They moved him out. If I was there and he had really been shot, I would have saved his life, because I know how to save lives, and I know those guys are skilled in that area. So if I knew that he was going to be shot, we're going to make a scene like he's been shot, because we know somebody's going to shoot him. So I would have said, okay, guys, this is where we're going to work this. We're gonna make it look like this, because I looked at this one woman at the fraud event. This woman came up to me and said, I totally agree with you. I was there. I was taking video. She showed me the video. She said his chest puffed up like it was like, and then boom, I think it was, staged. But if there was an exit wound, which I haven't seen, and, I don't know. So I'm open-minded about it, but from my perspective, I'm looking at it and I'm saying this is a whole staged event. And it's probably because they knew he was going to be assassinated, so they staged it. Uh, that's my thoughts on that.
I'm
Well,
with you.
Ed, and I think that was a vicious killing, but that's just me. But I'm going to go into this first. Trump terminates all members of Election Assistance Commission ahead of midterms, so he's already making moves, guys.
Right.
Here it comes. President Donald Trump on Thursday night reportedly terminated the members of the Election Assistance Commission, which is an independent commission that assists election administration officials nationwide. All three of the remaining commissioners were removed in some way, according to Reuters, with two Democratic commissioners, Thomas Hicks and Benjamin Hovland, notified by email. The Republican commissioner, Christian McCormick, was allowed to resign. So he's already starting to make moves. I heard that Monday could be a big day. I don't know what's going to happen. Juan's chief of staff hit me up and told me that, Monday could be, he said, look out for Monday. And I haven't gotten back to him to find out what yet, but we'll see. But I think this is it, man. There's no other time like now with where we're at the next 5 months. I mean, and I know we say this every election, but this really is the hill to die on. There's nothing this is it. I mean, if the Democrats don't get what they want for midterms, which it looks like they're not, what's their next choice? It's chaos, man. It's some kind of red nuke button, man. They're going to have to hit the button because if Trump goes forward, the SAVE Act is not going to pass. I think we all know that. I think we all can agree on that. But Trump's going to make it look like, hey, I'm really pushing for this to pass. Even if it did pass, it'd be fought in courts and it wouldn't come in on time for the midterm. So what does that mean? It means Trump most likely is going to sign this national security or declare a national security emergency, which will then lead to executive orders, which will then send the Democrats off the rails. And what does that mean? Well, they're going to have to resort to another means or other methods of getting the job done. Now, what that means, or you all can use your imagination, I think it's going to be severe, man. I think it's going to be, I think there will be pockets of civil unrest. I don't think they won't achieve what they've always wanted, which is a civil war. But I think, when this starts to the trajectory starts to, Trump starts to set his sights on Obama more so than ever, and the arrests come, I think that's when this shit really kicks off, man. And I think midterms to me is it. It has to be it. I'm just speaking out. I'm thinking out loud. My audience knows it's logical. You all know this. It has to be the midterms. There's no friggin' way either side's going to give an inch. They're going to do whatever it takes to just not just win this, but it's probably going to be delayed, postponed, whatever, military. Who knows how this plays out? But I think the next 5 months, man, it's just going to keep getting ratcheted up, higher stakes, maybe more assassination attempts on Trump. You talked about his plane. Yeah. I mean, anything's a possibility. Dude, I would have food tasters. What about poisoning the water at Mar-a-Lago? I mean, these people, there's 10 ways to Sunday to get this guy. And who knows? I mean, he even said himself, I may go away for a while or I may be gone soon, hinting that he's very realistic with what could happen to him.
Sure.
So there I am with that. That's what I have to say right now.
It still doesn't escape me, and I don't have any hard evidence or proof, but it still doesn't escape me that it's still plausible. They're still controlling all this and playing it out. And I agree, Nino. There's always still moves the other side can make. It's like that. We talked about this before, the Queen's Gambit, that film that when you lost. On a chessboard, you drop your queen over and you tap out with respect because you can see there's no way no matter whatever move you make, you're going to lose. And it's disrespectful to keep on pushing if you're a real professional. For this battle, to me, it's kind of like that there's a Queen's Gambit that's obvious, but the other side is still going to fight to the death. My belief is and I agree with you too. I think there's no way the election is going to happen, in my opinion. We have to get to close enough to where it becomes a bit of a fever pitch because we still know we have elections that aren't secure. I think it's continuing to just let the energy build among the population, because if we don't have the support, if the military doesn't have the support for all the stuff that they need to do from the people, it breaks out into chaos. I mean, we look at 2019, 2020 with Antifa BLM. So I believe the same thing. I believe they're riding this thing to get the people to where the people need to be. That's my opinion. And I do know this over the last number of years, traveling and talking to all these people. You mentioned how bad school taxes are in El Paso. Mike, you brought that up. This school tax, or even the school bond fraud, catastrophe heading our way. My belief is no matter what happens at the top, military, Trump, the global realignment, if we, the people, do not stand up and start acting like free Americans, restoring a republic and taking our counties back from this corruption, it mirrors exactly what Alexis de Tocqueville said when he wrote Democracy in America, 150 years ago. Traveled a country from France to find out what made America what it is so great. And his summary was this: it's just like he said, "Look, America's great because her people are great, and when her people cease to be great, she won't remain that way." That's where we are today, because there's no greatness, in my opinion, to the degree we had when the country was founded. Too many people are sitting back, allowing these school board meetings to happen with nobody there, cranking up tax rates. These clowns, they've never run candy stores, let alone a multi-million-dollar budget, tens of millions, and they're in there voting for shit to get built and money to be spent. And case in point, district here, 1/3 less people in school than when I was here, like triple the budget. This is insanity.
El Paso's worse.
You're losing students left and right. You can't keep building shit, and you can't keep keep raising taxes. I say this, and I took this fight on because I listened to my dad for 50 years. Looks like I froze again. My dad for 50 years. I've listened to my dad bitch constantly for decades. More school tax increase, more school. I wasn't paying him, so it wasn't a big deal to me. But now you see this stuff. These people will never stop until they're stopped. Plain and simple. The battlefield, in my opinion, is local. If we're going to get this country back, because there's the culture of corruption came from the top, Clinton era, Bush and Clinton, clear to the bottom, and it's everywhere. It's this little town that I grew up in. What I'm learning from the people that I'm talking to here, whistleblowers, school board whistleblowers, and other people, the corruption here is staggering to me. I'm like, this quaint little beautiful, middle American town. Now we even have it at this level. Anyways, I'm not going to do any name call. I'm going to keep the gasket from rupturing because I got to do the event tomorrow. I want to save it for tomorrow, but that's where in my opinion, that's America has got to recover herself. There's no amount of military that could make this thing get back to where it once was. There has to be a culture shift. And I think Trump and the machine are driving this to make it so front and center in this country, and people's minds like, holy shit, this is that bad. We can't possibly survive this. And there's some type of big thing that happens that changes this right here, a mental change. So we say, you know what? We're never allowing this to happen again. And then what do we behave differently? We start holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think those taxes, El Paso's the worst. El Paso's disgusting, man. Like you got to hire someone to fight your property taxes every year. It's terrible. And so what we're dealing with that here, it's a Democrat-run town. It's completely corrupt. Every politician is crooked. The cartels run everything. It's a disaster here, and I can't wait till this gets cleaned out, because I know it's going to. I know it's going to be top to the bottom, man. I know that's why I'm telling you, these midterms are going to decide everything. And there's no way in hell I'm even thinking this is going to a vote, going to an election. I'm wondering, will the Democrats, once Trump makes the move, what are the Democrats going to do? And that's going to decide everything from there on forward, man. So, I don't know what magnitude of maybe terror events, of what they could possibly do, but I know that the USAID defunded them. I know the ICE raids, we went in and took down a lot of terrorist cells, but that doesn't mean we got them all. and I'm sure there's still a lot that will be activated. I'll never forget when I did that article on Mobile, Alabama, the lake there. There was a dam that had an IED there, and it's like, what the hell is an IED doing at a dam? Well, to take down the infrastructure, right? Imagine if they're at all the dams, and it's a coordinated effort. I mean, I don't know at what level how coordinated this stuff is from their side, but I'm sure they're very equipped and ready for some kind of disaster, a response to Trump, and they're probably not going to pull the trigger prematurely. They're going to do it coordinated at a time when we, least expect it, or approaching right into midterms. I would imagine that things are going to keep escalating, but I would say that probably, if I had to guess, late October, man. Late October going into November, and probably after. That's when I would. That's when we're going to see where this really is at. Now, I don't know what magnitude. Like I said, I can't predict that, but we're going to see exactly how hot this really is, what the temperature really is, and I think, and how much of the threats Trump neutralized.
It all leads back to elections too, because if like they have been asserting people that allow this fraud and this craziness to happen, we can't get resolution on it until we remove those people that are allowing it and building walls with judicial walls around their corruption that we can't even enter constitutionally as citizens to, get recompense from their criminal activity against us. Like we're talking about the fraud and the school bonds and so forth. And even in Minnesota, I was just reading this morning where Secretary Marco Rubio, they ousted some Laotian that had here illegally raped a 10-year-old girl, and they went in and prosecuted him. Governor Tim Walz pardoned him. And then they went in and said, okay, he's no longer legal status. And so they deported him. He should have been executed from the get-go. So none of this bullshit happens, because these criminals that are allowing this stuff to happen, that are destroying America, are going to continue to do that, like a Tim Walz. So I know there's a lot of people in Minnesota who's like, we didn't vote for him. Yeah, you didn't vote for him because they inserted him, just like they did Newsom and all these other criminals that are in treasonous criminals that are in these, Colorado, you name the state almost these days. There's criminals there that are criminal cartels, and it's insane. So we have to get resolution. Now, I think there may be, because I've heard from some people that are close to Trump, that they may pass the Save America Act at the last minute. That way, it doesn't give them, like we're all talking about, the ability to play their games. But
they'll still hold it up in court, and it won't meet the fruition by the time we come to midterms. It'll be held up.
We know it doesn't matter what we pass. The Democrats are still going to cheat in their states, just like we saw in the last election. Everywhere there was, a Democrat state, they allowed people to come in and vote without an ID.
But since they've been taking the federal funding, they're going to have to cooperate with whatever Trump signs, and that's where it's going to get tricky.
Look at Colorado. No, they don't have to. They don't have to. They'll continue to thumb their nose.
No doubt about it. They're going to be defiant.
Yeah.
But this is when the country's going to go. This is what we're talking about. This is when shit goes into disarray.
Yeah. Well, election fraud, if it gets, revealed, which I think it can, we've talked about this for a while. Both of us have had Maria Zack on. She says there's threats of they'll use nukes if they, disclose. Will it be an open nuke, or will it be a nuke on a fault line? Like we've seen, I think they used the fault line nuke in Japan when Fallujah was not Fallujah. Fukushima, thank you, was destroyed. So, there's lots of different ways, like we're talking about, these psychopaths can try and ruin us. So we're another one of these things, that gets out there and is even worse than the one prior that we had to deal with 6 years ago, and took all of us down. But you, Nino, So you've been able to, like, survive. You're one of the survivors. I've come back, and Scott, I put shows up that I've done with you, and they come and taking them down
Jeez.
because it's your name. These criminals are still onto us, guys, and we've all had problems with our shows, all of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, it's still alive and well, man. This is not going away. It's an ideology that's immersed itself and puts its tentacles into the American psychology and society for decades now. And I mean, the people you got to really worry about, man. I mean, I know like MS-13, the cartels, the Hamas, Hezbollah, those. I'm sure a lot of those organizers and terrorist cells have been taken down. That's what the ICE raids were for initially, the big sweep. But dude, you got to worry about your crazy neighbor.
Yeah.
Like the purple haired fucking liberal lady next door that's going to just lose her fucking mind. She's not going to be able to take this shit. I mean, no, really. I mean, think about the crazy people you see on a day to day basis that are going to be ready to snap.
Oh yeah.
Just when they find out they're not going to, the midterms maybe are delayed. Like this is going to set off a lot of triggered people.
Yeah.
Just that's a wild card we have to all think about. Like they're going to feel like this is being taken from them and they will fight to the death. They're going to look at us like bigots and Nazis because they bought into the MSN media. That's what I'm worried about, dude. I'm not worried about I think the gangs and the cartels and the Hamas and all. I think most of them have been neutralized. But dude, the wild card, your neighbor, your crazy cat piss smelling neighbor that's fucking, drinking wine by herself, just going through crazy shit in her head all day long. That's gonna lose
by herself because they're not reproducing.
No.
That's why the birth rate is down, because the wokesters aren't reproducing. Those of us that are conservative, we got babies and we're still babies. But we can't wait this out. We can't wait for them to like cancel themselves out.
But dude, they're gonna go nuts. You realize that they're gonna lose their shit.
Even if they do, Nino, I mean, look at some of these. I mean, look, what are they going to do, right? All these leftists. Okay, I'm going to grab a gun and shoot you. I mean, they'll grab a gun. They'll probably shoot themselves, or if they
probably won't even know how to load it.
They'll come out to try to fight you like this, right? What kind of violence they're going to bring? It'll be a complete mowdown. I mean, it's absurd. You ever see that one Antifa riot where the big dude's out there and here comes kid with a ball bat and he just turns like this and here it comes right at him. He just puts his hands up, grabs the ball bat.
Wham, yeah.
Guy just topples like a building. That's what happens. My buddy in Colorado, his name is Kelly. We've said this shit for decades. I wish that shit why doesn't that shit ever happen to me? Because we think about how can people stand around and let this happen? We would just be breaking bones and tossing them aside, grabbing the breaking bones and tossing them aside. Nobody seems to. You realize what happens if the powder keg in middle America goes off, like patriotic America? It ends overnight. That's what we're trying to get people to stand up, not to do this, but to get to, in front of the political bodies. But if the people would just stand, we outnumber even the lunatics. We outnumber them so badly, it would be a complete mowdown. And that's the thing. None of these people who behave this way, they've never been in a fight, right? They've never shot a gun. They've never dodged a bullet. And you know how it is, a bully, first time he's cracked, wham! And then he's off balance. The dude beats the shit out of him. It was like, oh my God, I thought the bully was untouchable. No, his brain has never experienced wham, like holy shit. And it freezes. It doesn't know how to process it. Then they get their ass kicked. That's what they've never had, a real wake up call. And again, for the MTP liberals, I'm not talking about we need to punch people in the face, that even if they deserve it, which they do. But once there's a move against somebody that they're not like a criminal, like if somebody starts to fight back, that's what we say with a woman. If they're going to ever abduct you and take you, even if you're going to be getting beaten, punched, fight to the death, grab everything you can. Don't let them get you into a car. Why do you do that? Because it's too much trouble. Their brains have always physically overpowered people. Everybody cowers, and it's easy pickings. But when somebody goes like lunatic and like screaming, scratching their eyes, after a minute, they're like, holy shit, I'm getting out of here. They've never experienced their brains in shock, and they don't know what to do, like, and they bail out. That's what happens on the other side if that powder keg goes. And one last thing I'll say, Nino, you kind of alluded to this point, and it's important that people understand this. Exactly what he said. Everybody keeps bitching that it's taken too long. You have zero idea what they're protecting us from. Q Operations said we will not make a single move until we can guarantee the safety of the American people. You don't understand. It is still that battle, and they have their bombs, like metaphorical, they can detonate on each other. That's catastrophic for everybody. They don't want to do that. They're playing this out, but there's still that threat. The other side loves death. They love the energy of misery and all that, so they don't care. They'll do it on the way out the door. We want life. We won't do that, on us or anybody else. That's why this thing's taken so long, and it's going to take a lot longer as long as people sit back in their own communities and take the same shit from the local politicians until they stand up and say, we are effing done with this bullshit and show up. Then we're going to continue on this path until it gets to the scare tactic, or till, like Juan said, a near-death experience of this country before people wake up and say, holy shit, what happened? How we going to lose our country?
I can definitely see the movement, though. I don't know if you guys can. It's picking up speed. Like, people are definitely getting involved now, more so than ever, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Mike should, Travis and Mitch Wexler. There's a show. I'll send you guys the link. It's 30 minutes. They're talking about this school board thing. How they got these school boards around the country, especially Travis. He's got them on the run. I mean, there's people in jail, cops, city officials, all this from what he's doing.
Yeah.
Open records requests, send them in, and you can get AI to write these things. They're better than an attorney, and their attorneys are like, holy shit, we're in trouble. They're flooding with these things, and they're running scared because why? If they do not comply with like a 10-day window or whatever it is and submit that paperwork to a FOIA request, it's a felony. And they've got people down the corner all over the country. I'll send you guys a video. I'm playing it at the event tomorrow. I'm playing it to show the people. Do you see what's working here? We have the power. We just don't understand. We don't have the knowledge of the law, all those kind of things to go do it, or the courage from a lot of people's standpoint. But there's a serious weapon that now these guys are utilizing against these town and city councils. The property tax raises that are illegal because they're jacking people's property tax or their values way up. They're using a specific software. Mitch said a physicist wrote the software. I forget who, a mathematician discovered it, but they're using software. Here's how much money we want. How much money do we need to get out of these people? Okay, let the software value their homes so it's high enough for everybody that we get the money we need. It's complete theft. Well, that is what they're going after, and they're burying these people everywhere. So I think this might be the trigger point when people discover how badly they're being screwed and ripped off. At some point, they got to blow the gasket. That's the only way we get our country back as a whole. When people just say, fuck this, I am done being robbed. These scumbags have never done anything except raise taxes 40 years here. We're wiping them out. And then get everybody under a watchful eye. Every move they make, scrutiny, analysis, FOIA requests, whatever. But until we hold these people in these elected positions accountable, America will never return to its greatness. Never. But I believe we're going to get there.
Well, we're on alignment too, the horoscopes and, planetary alignment. When the Civil War happened last time, when World War I happened. So this is a time where, people start to revolt and so forth. We can't, I know we think these guys, we can take them pretty easy, the blue hairs and so forth. Yeah, for some of them. But just think back to, again, the Civil War. That should have been a war that never would have happened because the guys that fought on each side had just fought in the Mexican-American War. And they went down there, kicked Mexico's ass, and they came back and they're in the Civil War, and they picked sides. And the Democrat Party still was able to survive. I think they assassinated Abraham Lincoln and got away with it. So we're still dealing with, they created the KKK. They voted against, blacks being able to vote. I mean, just women being able to vote. they're still corrupt as hell, but people still get brainwashed into backing them. So this is the problem we have right now. We still have these people that are brainwashed for centuries, you know. To discount them is that's you got to be careful with that. So I think the legal the side that we're doing, and I know we've all talked about it, and I believe it's having an impact on them, is very it's the way to go. It's we do this until we can't do it anymore. You know, we have to go kinetic or something. I hope we never go kinetic. I don't think we are, but there is a possibility. And just like our brother Nino was saying, everything revolves around that midterm. Both sides are, you know, pivoting on that midterm. So what happens to one side or the other? If Democrats get it, I was telling you guys, I'm probably going kinetic, right at that point, and they're probably thinking the same thing. So we can't discount this. This is very, very serious time. So we have to look at this and try and do this legally, try and wake people up. Look, they cheated on the 2020 election. You all can see it now, but still we're going to have a lot of these people they don't care. They don't care, and they're going to still stay with their side because that's the way they're programmed.
Think about the fractured MAGA too.
Yeah.
I mean, you think how many people Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have absorbed? How many people hate Israel and now hate Trump? I mean, I don't back Israel at all. I'll tell you that right now. But I know that, you know, I'm still saving that space for saving Israel for last. And it does look like Trump is making some decisions to where it's frustrating and tensions are rising with Benjamin Netanyahu. So I am watching this play out. In my mind, I'm seeing how this goes. But there's a lot of people that are fed up with Israel and Trump's backing of Israel, and they've already jumped ship, man. And we got to be careful of those people too, because those are going to be the rogue warriors that maybe are not on the Democratic side, but they hate Trump too. You know, maybe they're not with the Democrats, but they're going to be a whole separate group that are patriots, right? That now look at Trump as the enemy. So they're going to be a problem, dude.
Well,
those people will be. Yeah, you know. And so just think about that. Like, just think about our broken side, man. So to me, you may not be worried about the Democrats, but what about the disgruntled Republicans that are now turning their back on Trump? They're out there. They're out there. So there's those guys. And you got to think like, you know, this is going to come to a head. We already can feel it. And now we're like coming to this boiling point where the pimples got to pop, dude. I mean, they're going to have no choice. And I think Trump knows this. And that's why he's taking his time. He's probably going to wait, in my mind, until the last second to do this national security emergency. And then executive orders so that it gives them less time. But you know damn well, dude, behind the scenes, they know exactly what Trump's going to do. They're just as methodical and well thought out as we are on our side, and they're waiting for its move and counter move, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what they're waiting for. My question, I wanted to bring this up to you guys too, because what do you guys think is going on with Mitch McConnell? Because something's going on with Mitch McConnell, and what do you think the strategy is behind that?
They want to wait till August 2nd when the Democrat that's running Kentucky can't insert somebody. So, you know, even though he's been voting against, you know, Save America Act and some other stuff, he has been voting in good Republicans. He's not 100%, obviously. He's maybe 80, maybe even less. 80%, you're like, you know, you're not any help to the Republican Party anymore. But that's what we've seen in Kentucky as well. With who was that one congressman that everybody loved that just got taken out by SEAL Team 6 guy they used to work with. so you're seeing, yeah. So you're seeing I don't want to mention him because I don't want to give him any energy, you know. So you're seeing he who must not be named. You're seeing this go round and round like we're talking about all the way to the end. I agree with you, and they have to maintain what little control they still have. So at first I was like, this is outrageous. And now I'm like, I see what they're doing. So I'm kind of on board with it, actually.
You know, I had, go ahead, Scott.
I'll tell you why I still have this sense of peace and comfort, even though we're going to hit the rapids. I have no doubt about that. It always comes back to like fundamental things with me because it makes it easier work for me to think. I don't have to think as much. So I look at it this way. Our side knows their playbook. We know that, right? They know their playbook. They know every, because it's the same game plan they have always used, right? Same playbook, completely captured playbook. They've got it all. What the other side doesn't have is our side's playbook because they've never seen it. Nobody has. That's why I believe, because they know everything that these guys have ever done. Now, doesn't mean they won't be malleable, but our side have never really shown their hand. They're completely at a disadvantage. And so I think a lot of the moves that they make also are, again, doing these things to get them to behave a certain way so everybody gets to see it. The bullshit, to get it in people's minds. Keep going and going and going. Now do you see? Yeah, we see it. Over here they don't. Keep pushing. Now do you see? Oh yeah, finally I see. I just have that, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't know where peace in my soul comes from, but that's the only way I can explain it. Again, we're watching a movie, greatest show, the greatest story will ever be told. You think thousands of years of this shit, you don't have to come up with a plan that can psychologically bring the world to a place where they say, yeah, let's all do this. It's going to be awesome. I just think that. I think there's casualties along the way, as every war. And I think there could be some things that may not work out like the way they think, but I think they always have the backup option, B, C, D, E, and F. And it basically inevitably becomes bulletproof, because I look at it this way. Trump and General Flynn said this to me once. We were in somebody's plane going to a Joey Gilbert campaign event. And he said, it's kind of like what you set up on stage, Scott, like, go ahead and take me out. All right. He's taunting these guys. You can take me out anytime, but you're going to deal with 22 million pissed off Patriot Street Fighters. See how that works out for you. And he goes, when you say that, he goes, he said, that's the way we see this. He said, it's real. He said, look, if we lose this, we're all dead. Right. Trump knows that too. And the military knows that too, that if this doesn't work out, if we lost, Trump lost, whatever, it's a murder spree to get rid of everybody who ever gets in their way again. And because they know that, that's why I believe their confidence when they made this final move to take this thing down, that they knew no matter what, we have everything we need to do to bury these people. You're going to survive. Your family's not going to be wiped out. Because they would wipe out your whole bloodline. They'd be going around the planet. That's why I still have this confidence that this is more about the Great Awakening than it is winning this global battle. That's why I keep telling people, focus on the light, keep focusing on what you see is happening and changing. Because the three of us know there's so much unbelievable shit happening behind this wall of all this stuff. We can see it, but most people can't, because what are they looking at? They're looking over at the same shit they've looked at their whole lives. But we just spent the last 6, 8, 10 years analyzing every single thing happening. We're like, oh yeah, look at this. You just mentioned a couple of these today. They just arrested the city clerk in Champaign, Illinois yesterday. They just arrested him. And these are the people responsible for stealing elections. That shit's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
So anyways, doesn't mean we're not going to head for the, hit a wall and have to battle in some way, shape, or form. But I'm still having a lot of fun with this thing.
Yeah. I think, we're definitely coming to the climax for sure. And you know what? I do like what Mike said earlier. I can't help but look at and I've had guests on talking about astrology and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the planetary alignments, I wonder what they're going to be in November. Like, I don't put now I know the audience is like, oh, don't buy into that stuff. I get what you're saying, but I think there's something there, because those are energies, those are solar energies. And when you look at when I had a lady on, Grace, that's, she's kind of like a local celebrity here in El Paso. She does a lot of stuff on the radio and talks about astrology and stuff, but she talks about the planetary alignments are exactly mirroring 1776, 2026 and 1776. I wonder what it's going to be in November. Like, I wonder what the planetary alignments are, because I kind of,
Right.
it's not that I worship that stuff, but I don't at all. But I believe in God is above everything. But there's something to this shit because the billionaires follow this stuff, not the millionaires. The billionaires do, and they coordinate everything they do around this stuff.